stand a chance against them in a who's the bigger dickhead showdown. Gohan smiled at his friend and nodded. Yeah, I know. Hell, there's some kid named Malfoy, and well now he is the definition of conceit, snobbery, smugness, pompousness, and you know what I mean. I had never met him until now. My parents know his parents, and I know his dad, but my god, I'm not telling him that or he might think that we should be friends. As they continued chatting and eating, the Spanish boy attempted to sneak one of Gohan's cake pieces. Unfortunately for Andres, Gohan's eyes were simply too fast to not catch this. What the hell are you doing? I'm going to eat that. Gohan growled. Andres nervously laughed. I was just trying to see if I could sneak one past you. You know, for the hell of it. Gohan smirked and mocked his friend, you'll never get one past me. Andres raised an eyebrow. Really now? Gohan playfully sneered and nodded. Never underestimate your enemies, son, Andres lightheartedly wagged his finger at Gohan. Gohan scoffed and cackled. If anything I'm overestimating you. Oh Andres, you're right. Andres pouted and whined, why are you being so mean Gohan-chan? For Gohan, the rest of the night went quite well with his new friend, Andres. Despite the repulsed looks being shot at him, the constant questioning by strangers around him about how he could eat so much, and that so-called accident he had when he set Malfoy's hair on fire, or was that a good thing? For acting like a prick toward him, the night did indeed go well. Dumbledore stood up again when the feast had concluded. I am glad to see that you have all enjoyed yourselves, but the feast is over and I have some announcements. First, the Forbidden Forest is exactly what its name says, forbidden. That makes it that much more interesting. Dumbledore paused and then motioned towards Gilderoy Lockhart. I am also pleased to announce a new addition to my wonderful staff. Please give a round of applause for the new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, Professor Lockhart. Cheering erupted throughout the Great Hall from all the tables, except Slytherin to Gohan's delight. Lockhart stood up and brightly smiled at the students, garnering dreamy sighs from much of the female population. Gohan rolled his eyes for the billionth time and felt like gagging. And I leave you with words of wisdom. Zonks. Chuggers. Lemon drops. Sweet chops. Gohan gazed in bewilderment at Dumbledore and turned his gaze to his friend. Is he bonkers or what? Andres chuckled. Dumbledore is a brilliant wizard, but he's also a little nutty. After the announcement, Gohan trailed the back of the first-year Slytherin line, being escorted by the prefects toward the common room. He and Andres kept on chatting about random things while hushing their occasional laughs. Even though he was having a good time with Andres, his thoughts revolved around his Gryffindor friends, wondering about how they would react toward him the following day. Nice place they've got here. Not. What a weird place to have a common room. A dungeon. No wonder Slytherins are so crabby. The Slytherins walked through a labyrinth of corridors to reach the common room. The secret door was hidden in indistinguishable stone. They were told the password by the prefects and subsequently allowed in. The common room was extravagant but cold, with the same stone walls but in addition medieval tapestries, documenting the adventures of past Slytherins hung on them and the same palatable chill as the dungeon, despite the burning wood in the fireplace. There were many black and dark green leather sofas, greenish lamps and chairs, a chess set, bookcases, decks of cards, and tables in the eerie room. 2 ornate stone pillars of serpent stood to the side of each spiraling stairway, each stairway leading to the gloomy depth of the dormitories. All in all, the cold common room personified the House of Slytherin. You 5, come here. I will take you to your dormitory, a prefect called out to Gohan, Andres, and 3 other Slytherin first years. As they descended, Gohan asked the other 3 boys their names. Jacob was the lanky one with brown hair and Alex the quiet one with black hair. Jacob seemed like a nice guy, actually very down to earth and not stuck up. Alex for the most part kept to himself, but wasn't mean or snotty, just reserved. The long-haired blonde boy's name was Sharpener, and he was also from Japan. This excited the two, and they talked a bit about their lives in Japan, all the while not mentioning Vidal once, otherwise they would definitely not have said another word to each other at all. Andres whispered to Gohan, where's your trunk? Gohan smiled and picked out a capsule from his pocket. Right here, he said, pointing to the capsule. In this little muggle capsule. Andres narrowed his eyes, looking at him disbelievingly. Are you pulling my leg? Is that some magic thing? Nope, watch. He looked over his shoulder to affirm the other boys were not watching him. They were busy looking through their own trunks. Satisfied, Gohan turned his neck back to Andres, tapped the top of the capsule, and threw it low in the air. A puff of smoke was ejected, and as soon the smoke cleared, the Saiyan's trunk was visible. Awesome. Andres grinned. His smile then faltered somewhat. But I've read that Muggle electronics don't work at Hogwarts because of the high levels of magic. Well, that rule doesn't apply to my friend's technology, I guess. The 5 boys got to know each other for about half an hour as they set up their space. The prefect came around and told them they had to go to bed. The 5 said good night to each other. It seemed like they would have a good time together this upcoming year. Gohan didn't immediately fall asleep. He went over the various possible reactions from each of his Gryffindor friends, imagining himself being confronted by them as they either berated him or uneasily questioned him. He would prefer the latter, but he knew that at least two of them, Ron and Hermione, would conduct the former. The significant question to Gohan, however, was whether he cared if they ostracized him. If that were the case, the Saiyan inside him would reason that they were weak and not worth his time, while the human inside him would reason that they were ignorantly labeling him if they took such an unjustified stance. Hearing from both sides soothed his worries about how they would react. At least how some of them would react. He felt differently about Harry and Ginny. He felt they were special and in a short time had quickly developed an immense fondness of the two. One of them was a courageous boy who had to confront the immense evil of Voldemort twice, coming out victorious both times. The other was a kind girl who brought out a different side of Gohan. If Gohan still was worried, it was because of those two. The next morning began decently for Gohan. After waking up and preparing for the upcoming day, he spent his time conversing with Andres as they strolled towards the Great Hall. You know, Gohan, I have a feeling we aren't going to have too many friends in Slytherin, at least besides our dorm mates. Gohan agreed. Yeah, even if we're Slytherins, we have to admit that almost all of them are assholes. Dude, there even was this one kid this morning talking about Voldemort like a hero. A first year too. Gohan frowned. Do you know who it was? Andres scowled. Yup. It was our own little Mr. President, Ryan Kennedy. Andres said, putting a snooty tone on the word president. Gohan scowled too. Ugh, that pompous prick. I can't stand him. We should keep a close eye on him. A Dark Lord supporter is never good, no matter how young. Andres agreed. Come on Gohan, they might run out of food, Andres teased. This made Gohan anxious. Oh no. Hurry up Andres. What are you waiting for? I'm going to die of starvation. He grabbed Andres and they started running, receiving stares from the students they blazed by. The half-Saiyan was withholding his true speed, not wanting to create a bizarre scene that surely would lead to an interrogation. Despite withholding much of his speed, he seemed to be running as fast as an Olympic sprinter. Whoa, hold on Gohan. I was just joking, geez. Gohan stopped, a little miffed, but nevertheless, delighted that the food wasn't going to end. The food doesn't end here, Gohan. My parents told me elves make it continuously because they sure do love making food. The hungry Saiyan let out a sigh of relief and smiled at his friend. I can be so gullible at times. Andres smiled back. Dude, I like that. Your gullibility is a breath of fresh air from what I'm used to. There are too many serious people in the world. Gohan thought about what Andres said for a bit, happy to have found such a good friend so soon. Hey dude, what happened to that I'm going to die of starvation crap? Oh yeah? Let's go. They walked through the Great Hall's grand oak doors and sat in the nearest seats at their longhouse table. Chatter bloated the room as friends of all years merrily socialized. Gohan and Andres dug into their food and some stares of awe made their way toward Gohan just like the previous night. I guess I'll have to get used to it. Gohan's mind was a third concentrated on eating food, a third concentrated on his conversation with Andres, and a third concentrated on his thoughts about his Gryffindor friends. After about half an hour, Snape handed out the schedules to the Slytherins. He gave the Saiyan and Spanish boy their schedules, while wrinkling his nose in disgust at Gohan's eating habits. Here, son. Maybe you learn some manners in my class, Snape drawled. Gohan bitterly looked back at his new professor, not willing to respond, ironically because of the manners his mother taught him. What's this? It seems like you do have some manners. Well, it's too bad my class isn't about proper dining etiquette, but I'm sure you learn something in there if you use more than half your brain. Snape walked away and Gohan glowered at the professor. He's a greasy git, Gohan deadpanned. Tell me something I don't know Gohan, Andres said. But yep, I mean look at that hair. It's so oily. The bell rang. Double potions with the Gryffindors, then transfiguration with the Hufflepuffs. Lunch and break. Third, charms with the Ravenclaws. And last, history of magic with the Hufflepuffs. That's Monday. Andres announced. Gohan paled a little. What's wrong? He inquired. I'm that easy to see through. Gohan complained. We all are at times. Gohan sighed and drew a sharp breath. Well, I made friends during the train ride here and they're all Gryffindors. Andres shook his head, completely comprehending what troubled the Saiyan. And you're worried about how they'll react about your placement in Slytherin. Exactly, but all of my friends, except one of them, are a year or more ahead of me, so they won't be in our classes. The other friend is a first year, either a friend or a sister of theirs, and my girlfriend. Andres' eyes widened. Whoa, wait a second. Did I just hear that farmer boy Gohan has a girlfriend? I thought you said you barely even knew what a girl was before Hogwarts. And now you're telling me that you actually picked one up on your first day. Gohan blushed a little, yielding snickers from Andres. The half-Saiyan shrug, clearly uncomfortable. I guess I'm a natural at this type of stuff. Andres gave him 2 thumbs up. Is she cute? We're talking about my problem, not my girlfriend's attractiveness. Gohan growled. Sheesh, I was just being my natural manly self, Andres muttered under his breath. Gohan scoffed. Well, try to be more understanding and it'll help if you get in touch with your feminine side for a minute. Andres just huffed and crossed his arms. Well, thank you, Mr. Pompous Prick, the troubled wizard sarcastically said. You see, Andres, my friends obviously won't react very well to my sorting, and we're having a class with that slime ball Snape and my Gryffindor girlfriend. The fiery Spanish boy broke out of his position. Gohan, you know that if they actually give a damn about you then they wouldn't get their panties in a twist over which house you're in. Gohan slowly nodded. Yeah, you're right, Andres. If they can't deal with me being in Slytherin, then they're not worth my time, even Ginny Weasley. The Spanish boy gawked at him. Did you say Ginny Weasley? She is cute. Why didn't you tell me? Andres whined. Gohan frowned. I know you're a little dense, but please don't make me repeat myself. Don't you remember I said we were supposed to be talking about my problem, not my girlfriend's attractiveness? Oh yeah, Andres dumbly replied. Now that you mention it. Gohan just sighed and they kept on walking toward potions. Once they reached their class, they entered a dimly lit room that felt several degrees cooler than the rest of the castle. The walls were shadowy and lined with several different jars. There was a cupboard in the front left corner of the class holding jars with even more peculiar things inside. Gohan felt jitters and his mouth go dry when he saw a retard girl sitting in the second row. He poked Andres' side and then pointed at Ginny. Andres nodded and trailed Gohan as the nervous savior of the earth walked towards his girlfriend. Andres sat a few seats away from Ginny and Gohan slowly approached her. The tense half-Saiyan cleared his throat. Hi Ginny, Gohan nervously said. Ginny had been reading a book, but her boyfriend's voice surprised her and she jumped a little from her seat. She turned around and gave the Saiyan an angered look. Gohan cursed silently at the reaction, but then noticed that she didn't truly appear angry with him. Her frown was forced and her eyes were misty, filled with confusion. Ginny, about my sorting into Slytherin. Ginny placed her finger on his lips and her eyes held back tears. Gohan, you are the best thing that could have possibly happened to me in my first year at Hogwarts. I feel terrible that such a great blessing could possibly become one of the worst things that has ever happened to me. If you really are like all the other Slytherins Ron rants about. That's because I can't help being attracted to you, even if you actually are an arrogant, self-centered kid. Please tell me you aren't like the rest of them. She looked at him, truly sad and worried. Ginny, I am what you saw last night. I am not like all the others, he sincerely said. But then why were you sorted in Slytherin? Mr. Sun, and didn't you hear me the first time I told you to stop talking? Snape drawled. Ginny blushed while Gohan gritted his teeth at Snape. But you might as well be honored at being the first to receive a detention out of all the first years. Congratulations, you will be helping me out later this evening. Snape mockingly applauded. The Slytherin snickered. Ginny glowered at Gohan, irritated that their conversation had got her a detention. Ginny, I didn't do anything, Gohan whispered. The fiery girl huffed and didn't respond. Snape proceeded on and took attendance. Once he finished, he looked up from his sheet at the class with his dark empty eyes. You are here to learn the subtle science and exact art of potion making, he said, and then paused. As there is little foolish wand waving here, many of you will hardly believe this is magic. I don't expect you will really understand the beauty of the softly simmering cauldron with its shimmering fumes, the delicate power of liquids that creep through human veins, bewitching the mind, ensnaring the senses. I can teach you how to bottle fame, brew glory, even stopper death if you aren't as big a bunch of dunderheads as I usually have to teach. Quote in this paragraph is taken straight from Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. After some lecturing, the class brewed a potion with relatively no incidents, at least no major ones. Whenever you have a class full of Slytherins and Gryffindors, nothing can go smoothly. Gohan noticed Snape's unjust treatment of the Gryffindors. He took off points for the slightest of things, while he turned a blind eye to any mistakes the Slytherins made. Gohan's potion was going very well, even with his mind concentrated solely on Ginny. His constant attempts to get even peep out of her failed, miserably. The upset Saiyan stared at his friend helplessly. Andres gave the distressed wizard a sympathetic look and a shrug of his shoulders. Gohan sighed and took a glance at how Ginny's potion was going. It was a light green, unlike Gohan's dark green potion. Ginny, add some more of that herb. Your potion isn't dark enough. Hurry, Snape is coming. Ginny hesitated a little, but then decided that ignoring Gohan wasn't worth it if it meant lowering her grade. Immediately, the potion turned a dark green color. Professor Snape then swooped over the disgruntled couple like an eagle catching its prey. Well. A Gryffindor here actually knows how to use her brain. A Weasley too. I will admit, it's a decent potion, Ms. Weasley, but definitely not perfect. I'll give you an A. Gohan was enraged that Snape had given Ginny an acceptable for a potion that should have gotten top marks. Snape then fixed his cold gaze onto Gohan's potion. A perfect potion, Mr. Sun, clearly worthy of an O. That was the last straw for Gohan. He shot up from his chair and gave Snape a frosty glare. Stop being such a prejudiced, unfair, greasy bigot. If I deserve an O, Ginny deserves an O too, because her potion is every bit as good as mine. Snape started to say down menacingly. Mr. Sun, it seems like you can't control yourself, so I will have to give you 2 more detentions, one more with me and another with Lockhart. Maybe then you will learn to properly respect your superiors. I don't care about your detentions. What about Ginny? Who is the professor here, Mr. Sun? Snape snidely asked, making Gohan want to strike him dead with a Kai blast. I am. The point I'm trying to get across is that I know how to properly judge a potion. Who are you to disagree with me? Gohan sat back down, not wanting to worsen the situation. Snape went back to examining the students' potions, as if nothing had happened. Ginny gave Gohan a quick peck on the cheek. You don't have to explain anything, Gohan, Ginny whispered in his ear. Gohan's scowl slowly turned into a smile. I can clearly see that you're not a slimy Slytherin kid, but rather my dazzling knight in shining armor. Gohan gave her a glittering smile in response. I am at your service, my fair lady, make sure to beckon me for whatever you need, Gohan said in a debonair voice. Ginny giggled. Certainly, my charming knight. I will keep that in mind. The bell rang, signaling the end of class, much to Gohan's relief, although he was reluctant to leave Ginny. While preparing to leave, Andres approached the two of them. So you two have made up. Oh, how sweet. Andres smirked. Gohan pulled out the old cliché knight in shining armor attempts to rescue in trouble princess. Unfortunately, against the script, the knight failed because of his own ineptitude, but at least they still somehow managed to live happily ever after together. That's very nice indeed. Ginny laughed, but Gohan glared at Andres. Come on, Gohan. He seems like a funny guy. Care to introduce me to your friend, my sweet knight? Gohan's features warmed up. This is my friend from Spain, Andres. Andres, this is Ginny. It's a pleasure to meet you, Milady, Andres courteously said. He gently grasped Ginny's hand, kneeled down, and kissed it. Ginny giggled at his chivalrous display. Gohan, on the other hand, felt like strangling the suave Spanish boy. Oh Gohan, don't be so cross. I am only doing what the proper gentleman should do. Gohan huffed in response and turned his back at his friend. Andres smirked and said in a teasing tone, don't be too bothered by him. He gets angry at the silliest things. Ginny laughed and Gohan tensed up even more. Gohan, Andres is just playing around with you. Don't take it so seriously. Your fine lady doesn't like that. At Ginny's words, he turned back to his friends and sluggishly smiled. Fine. Let's get going. The trio walked out of the gloomy class and a few moments of silence passed until Gohan broke it. Andres and I have transfiguration next. How about you, Ginny? She sighed unhappily, obviously not excited. I have history of magic next. My brothers have told me it's the most boring class in Hogwarts. She paused then continued. The professor is a dull old ghost who probably could only be exciting if his life depended on it. The look of thoughtfulness crossed the boys' faces. Gohan quipped up first, and because he's dead. His life would never be at risk, Andres partially filled in. So he never will excite anyone, Gohan finished, proud that they understood. Ginny smiled, amused by the boys. Bravo boys. I'm sure that was very difficult, stretching your collective brain powers to their limits. She mockingly applauded in a similar fashion as Snape had. The boys both huffed. Ginny rolled her eyes. Slytherins, she muttered under her breath. The boys burst out laughing, confusing Ginny. Okay. That's exactly what we wanted to hear, Slytherins. They said in unison. See, we're not all the same. She shook her head, feeling sad for the boys. That was lame. Hey. They both cried out. You know, you guys are turning into my brothers. It's freaky seeing how both of you are so synchronized in speech. After a few seconds of complaining from the boys, Gohan finally asked a serious question. Ginny, how did the others react? She grimaced a little. Harry took it decently, just like me. He wasn't sure if you being in Slytherin meant you were any different from the person we met. After the shock, my brothers found it humorous, which they have an annoying habit of doing in any situation, joking that finally a good apple came out of a dreadful farm. Gohan smiled slightly at this. Hermione took it pretty badly and tried to convince Harry that you shouldn't be trusted, but Harry gave her the typical Hermione rationale about the fallacy of stereotyping and told her she was sounding like a bigot. Hermione immediately started slagging herself off, calling herself, in her words, nothing better than dogmatic close-minded fool. Ron exploded and yelled that he doesn't want anything to do with you and urged me to stay away from you. I'm relieved that the others didn't take it that badly, but I guess Ron won't exactly be my #1 supporter, then, huh? Gohan noted. He won't be serenading you anytime soon, that's for sure. Gohan pouted at Ginny. You discovered my secret to use you to get to your beautiful strong brother, Gohan said indignantly. Andres and Ginny exploded in delight at the Saiyan's outrageous statement. After a couple more minutes of conversation, Ginny had to turn right to get to her class, while the boys kept heading north to McGonagall's class. They arrived right on time and opened the wooden door. They met the sight of a tabby cat lazily curled up on the professor's seat while seemingly probing the first years with her eyes. Gohan sensed McGonagall's Chi in the cat and reasoned that the cat was her animagus. When I become an animagus, I want to be something more kickish than a cat. The two boys looked around the class for 2 empty seats and unfortunately for them, sitting at the available seats would separate the two friends. I call dibs on the seat at the far left corner, Andre said. He had noticed a cute Hufflepuff girl next to that seat. Whatever. Gohan shrugged. His impassive expression quickly became incensed at the sight of Vidal Satan sitting next to the empty seat. Damn it, Paras, get back here. Gohan yelled, snapping the class of their stupor. Mr. Sun. Do not use foul language in my class. McGonagall commanded. Gohan made a mental note to punch himself hard, very hard later at night for his idiocy. The class gasped that the cat was actually their professor, but then stiffened at the sight of a furious McGonagall. Might as well try my little weapon that always works, well except with Mom. I'm sorry Professor McGonagall, honest, Gohan said while faking sincerity, lowering his head slightly and looking at her with large guilt-filled dark eyes. He mentally smirked as his professor's features softened considerably. I accept your apology, Mr. Sun. Just make sure to be more careful with your word choice next time, okay? The devious Saiyan gave her a warm smile. He then turned back and smirked at the rest of the class. He took a distinct delight at the glower thrown at him by Vidal Satan. Gohan walked toward the last seat of the column, next to Vidal Satan, behind a blonde girl, and diagonally across a blonde boy. Wait, that's Sharpener. Is he really friends with Satan? There goes our budding friendship. Professor McGonagall stood up tall and fixed a firm gaze onto all the students. Her dark square eyes were stern and her hair was tightly fitted into a bun. Students, today is the first day of Transfiguration and I warn all of you to not delude yourself into thinking that just because I was not at my usual stringent best in terms of dealing with Mr. Sun's conduct that I am not strict. I am exactly the opposite and I have high expectations for all of you. She took a moment to examine the class, making sure that no one was goofing off. Her gaze met stiff frightened students and a resilient silence. Once satisfied, she continued. Transfiguration is some of the most difficult and possibly hazardous magic that you will be taught at Hogwarts. As I told you before, I do not tolerate anyone who does not take my class seriously. You will leave and never come back if you disrupt my class. She caught their interest by changing her desk into a cute dog and then reverting it back to its usual uninteresting form. Many of them were eager to quickly begin the lesson, but unfortunately, they quickly came to realize that Transfiguration wasn't going to be easy. They first had to take extensive wearisome notes. Gohan sat uninterested as they were taught, having learned all of the material the first day he bought his books. In fact, he already had gone through the entire book effortlessly and easily recalled everything he had read. The only thing that could quip his interest would be practicing the magic because of course he couldn't do that at his house unless he wanted to be expelled before ever going to Hogwarts. Now class, I will give each of you a match. You are to transform the match into a needle. She walked through the class, handing out matches to the eager students, all of them glad to be broken out of the exhaustingly boring process of note-taking. Now begin, she announced. Gohan gave his match a dispassionate look and with one simple flick of his supple wand, the match transformed into a sharp silver needle. I'm done Professor, Gohan impassively stated. Professor McGonagall was astonished that a first-year student could complete the task on his or her first attempt. Not even Hermione Granger, who had been the most brilliant first year in years, had been so adept. She quickly walked over, needing to see it to believe it. Mr. Sun, that's wonderful. She smiled at him. Never has a student ever been this proficient. Keep on working hard, Mr. Sun, and you will likely excel in my class. Gohan resisted the urge to brag that he knew everything that she was going to teach this year, including a good portion of the second-year course. For the next several minutes, he took pleasure in watching Hercule's daughter's several failed attempts at the task. Seems like things aren't peachy, huh? Gohan said conversationally. Vidal fixed her gaze even harder on the needle, attempting to ignore the Saiyan's taunts. That's not very nice, Vidal, Gohan said, feigning emotional pain. Why don't you ever want to talk to me? His lips formed a smirk as he saw Vidal's face curl up in irritation. Because you're a thick-headed idiotic egotistical jerk, Vidal's breath hissed from her teeth. The blonde girl slightly turned around and looked at the two discreetly enough to not garner the professor's attention. Vidal, don't be so mean. From what you keep saying about the infuriating incident, she used her fingers to form the quotation marks, Gohin here doesn't seem that bad. She then eyed him for a few seconds and squealed. Plus, Gohin is super cute. Gohin awkwardly laughed at Arasa. He still wasn't used to being complimented by a girl. Thanks. What's your name? She smiled at him. The name's Arasa, and that airhead next to me is Sharpener. Sharpener hastily turned around and scowled. Whatever, Arasa, I'm not an airhead, just honest. Arasa rolled her eyes. And you should know better than to question Vidal when she calls someone an asshole, unless it's me of course. Sharpener locked his eyes intensely on Gohin's eyes, attempting to intimidate the Saiyan. So, Gohin, it's a shame you're the guy Vidal's been talking about all along. I thought you were better than that. Vidal looked at Sharpener, confused. Wait, you know this guy? He's in my dorm. I thought he was a cool guy, but I was wrong. Gohin, you made fun of her pops, the savior of you and the entire world. So apologize and stay out of our way, or you will reap the consequences and get pummeled to the ground by Hercule's newest martial arts student, me. Sharpener ended and smirked smugly at the Saiyan. Gohin looked at him listlessly and yawned. Are you finally done? He questioned. Vidal and Sharpener both looked at him lividly. That's enough, Barney. You're going down at lunch. Sharpener hissed. Arasa spoke up. Hey, come on, he didn't do. Vidal interrupted Arasa without a second thought. He's mine to take down. But Vidal. Sharpener whined. Come on you guys, he insulted my father and insulted me. It's my fight. Sharpener reluctantly nodded, defeated by Vidal, while Arasa gave Gohin a sympathetic glance. Vidal whipped around to direct a ferocious glare at the apathetic Gohin. You're going to get your ass kicked for your disrespectful insults, son. You and me at lunch, 7th floor, anything goes. Gohin's expressionless face made Vidal worry slightly, but she shook it off and continued. And when I kick your ass, you can't go crying to anyone about getting your ass handed to you. I'm sure you won't do that though, because after all, you wouldn't want your big ego hurt even more, would you? Whatever. Vidal gritted her teeth at Gohin, but silently went back to her task. I don't think you're a bad guy, Gohin, Arasa whispered toward him. Gohin gave her a small smile. Thanks. The half-Saiyan thought in advance about what he would do during the fight. He was pretty sure that when she meant fight she planned on beating him with her fists. Obviously he wouldn't truly fight the girl. In fact, he wouldn't even attempt to land a punch on her because he was way too strong for her and it just wasn't fair. Since she said anything goes, he decided that he would just use Stupefy on her and then use Renovate. It'd be his first time using the spells, but he was completely sure he could pull them off. After a few more minutes, the bell rang and the students left, rushing to lunch. Gohin and Andres walked together to the 7th floor as Gohin recounted the story to his friend. Wow, she is one fiery girl, I like that. Andres cheekily grinned. Gohin frowned. If you actually meet her you'll be wishing to never ever have to talk to her again. She's literally Satan's spawn. So, Sharpener is her friend. Yup. He's basically her lapdog, so any sort of friendship with him is out the window. After a few more minutes of conversation and walking, they reached the 7th floor. They walked east and then turned north. A few moments later, they stood face to face with Vidal and her friends. Vidal's glove-covered fists tightly curled into balls at the side of Gohin. Vidal stepped up and shot Gohin a dark glare. Ready, son? Whenever you are, Satan, Gohin coldly rolled off his tongue. Good, ha. She leapt off the ground and attempted to land a blow on Gohin's head. He effortlessly dodged her. To Gohin's surprise, she quickly shot another fist and then threw a flurry of kicks and jabs, which Gohin either dodged or blocked. She's actually pretty good. I'm impressed. Andre's mouth gaped open at the fight. Whoa, this is awesome. Sharpener and Arasa were equally in awe, mainly with Gohin's ability to actually hold his own with Vidal's ruthless fighting ability. After all, any kid who ever seriously pissed off Vidal got their ass beat badly. One time during kindergarten, when a big bully twice her size had swiped her lollipop from her hands, she made him squeal out loud for his mommy in front of everyone, including the teachers. Another time when a guy viciously teased Arasa, Vidal knocked his 2 front teeth out. The Saiyan was toying with the fiery girl, taunting her whenever he had the opportunity. Looky Vidal, I'm over here. Fist thrown, dodge fist. You're fast. Too bad I'm faster. Kick thrown, block kick. Keep on trying, someday you might hit me. Fist thrown, block fist. Before you came along I was hungry for ice cream, meeting you made me fed up with so much ice. Kick thrown, dodge kick. Vidal, I'll never forget that beautiful day we first met, but honest to God I'll keep on trying. Fist thrown, dodge fist. You're such a douchebag. She screamed. Don't flatter me. She launched at him again, but in a blink of an eye, Gohin whipped out his wand and yelled, "Stupefy." A beam of light hit Vidal, sending her spiraling toward the wall. Her limp body hit the bottom of the wall. Sharpener and Arasa looked shocked at what happened and were going to yell at Gohin, but the Saiyan waved his wand and chanted, "Renervate." The blonde sighed in relief at the sight of their friend regaining consciousness. "Tell her if she ever wants to apologize for being a bitch, she can come to me. I'll gladly accept her apology," he told the blondes. The winner then motioned to Andres. "Come on Andres, let's get going so we can meet up with Ginny." The pair left the other three, off to leave behind an enemy and meet up with a friend. Vidal's eyes looked at the disappearing figure of Gohin regretfully. She felt mortified when he called her a bitch and she wasn't sure why. "Gohin's son. How dare you fight a girl?" The boys covered their ears and cowered in fear at the enraged girl in front of them. Gohin spoke up timidly. "Guy Ginny, she wanted to fight me and. That doesn't mean you had to." Still cowering in fear, Andres raised an eyebrow at Gohin. "She does have a point there." Gohin straightened up. "Hey, you're on my side. Slytherins versus Gryffindors." Andres shrugged. "No biggie, I'll be a Gryffindor for a few minutes." Gohin gave his double-crossing friend a glare. "Traitor." "Well Gohin. You don't have a reason then?" Ginny asked. "Yeah I do." "Then let's hear it." Gohin cowered down even further. "Yeah, Gohin, let's hear it," Andres weakly affirmed and then straightened up. Gohin gave Andres another glare. The Spanish boy nervously chuckled. "I just want to hear your reason, nothing personal against you or for her." Gohin stood straight up from his cowering position, gave Ginny the fabulous sun grin, and nervously looked at her. "Well, you see Ginny. I fought Vidal Satan and. You wanted to prove that you could beat Hercule's daughter," she spat out. "Yeah." Ginny's glare intensified. "I mean no. Well maybe I did, wait. No, I didn't. Like I said, she challenged me, but I knew she wouldn't accept it if I backed down." "And why is that?" "Yeah, why is that?" Andres ostentatiously said and righteously crossed his arms. "Will you shut up, Spanish muchacho? You already know why. As long as you don't help me out, this is a tete-a-tete. Why did call me Spanish, use Spanish, and then use French? That's pretty stupid." The in trouble Saiyan narrowed his eyes at his friend. "God damn it, it doesn't matter, just leave. I'm sure you have something better to do like jacking off." Ginny gasped. "You, Gohin, gross." "Yeah, Gohin. There's a lady here if you didn't notice. Learn some manners." "God damn it, just leave." Gohin screamed. "Nothing's going my way." "Sheesh, fine then, cooked rice." With a pompous puff, Andres turned around and strutted away, looking for a girlfriend of his own. "I wouldn't get myself in this much trouble with a chick this soon. I am after all, the master." Gohin. "He's a noob. A romantically awkward noob." Cooked rice. "Why did he call me oh no he's getting it. He thinks he's smart, huh? So he knows what Gohin means in Japanese." Ginny laughed when she understood what Andres meant. "Damn you Andres, you're really getting it now." He recovered from his thoughtful state and grudgingly waited until Ginny's laughter died down. "Okay, as I was saying, Vidal wouldn't have accepted me backing down because she felt it was personal." Ginny furrowed her forehead. This made Gohin even more uneasy, but he continued. "She felt it was personal because I called her father a buffoon of a martial artist." "And why did you call the savior of the world a buffoon?" she icily asked. Gohin groaned. He knew he was screwed. "Why do you hate me so much, Dend? After all I've done for you." I can't tell her why I called Hercule a buffoon unless I want to spill out my life story and either freak her out or have her accuse me of being a liar. I'm screwed. After some stammering, he meekly said, "I just did." "So you had a go at her for no reason. Maybe you're a slimy, no good kid." "Come on Ginny. Gohin, it's over." Gohin looked at her utterly shocked, the words slowly were sinking in. She then smiled at him. "Until you apologize to Vidal." The words "it's over" were still sinking in when she had stunned him yet again. After a few moments, his shock slowly subsided. To Gohin. "Maybe I should have just left it at, it's over, for now and then come back the next day and tell you until you apologize to Vidal. I'm afraid I left you with a thought and you don't have anywhere to put it." Gohin broke out of his shock just in time. He whined. "Do I really have to apologize to that girl?" Ginny looked at him ferociously. "Maybe I shouldn't have said that." "Okay." He anxiously agreed. "I'll do it." She gave him a mocking smile. "And it isn't just to get me back. It's out of the goodness of your heart." "Yeah right," he muttered under his breath. "What was that?" Gohin jerked his head back towards Ginny. Nothing, just looking down at the interesting floor." "Haha." Ginny looked at him suspiciously. Yeah it's out of the goodness of my heart." Ginny smiled brightly at Gohin. "Great, well bye Gohin, I'm going to go talk with my friend Luna." "Wait Ginny. What about my hug and kiss?" Ginny smirked at Gohin. "Was it that traumatic, Gohin?" remember? We broke up. Gohin smacked his forehead. Oh yeah. She waved goodbye and skipped merrily away to the stairway. He gazed yearningly at her disappearing figure. What the hell is happening? I surprisingly got a girlfriend last night, then just one day later, today, I had to fix up her doubts about our relationship. Everything is peachy until a few hours later, I break up with her. This is ridiculous. Gohin sighed. At least it'll be easy to get back together with Ginny. I just have to apologize to Satan, even if she doesn't deserve it. But that ruins my plan to make her feel like crap. Ah, screw this, I'll think about it later. Mr. Brain deserves a break, and my poor nerves really do too. In another timeline. The scream of lust was wildly flung into the air, adding to the fervent atmosphere of licentiousness. OHHHH, Trunks. OHHHH, fangirl. Trunks' lustful cry of pleasure added to the growing atmospheric impiety. This sizzling sexy action all started about an hour ago. Trunks had been minding his own business at the Fangirls of Trunks Club meeting. He had been leaning on the wall being his usual fabulous self when a petite foxy brunette made a move on him. Like Trunks always says, you don't have to make a move if you've got major mojo. And well, we all know that Trunks has major mojo. Or was it the fact that he was at an obsessive fangirls meeting dedicated to him, composed of girls who couldn't care less about his mojo because all they cared about was his perfect face and body? Because he was nothing more than a piece of delectable meat to them? Nah, it definitely was the mojo. A few more suggestive moves and they were soon in his love bed. Are you a virgin? The girl sweetly asked as she adjusted the fangirls of Trunks' camera to capture more of the Saiyan's chiseled pecs. Me? Trunks indignantly asked, insulted. Of course not. The brunette looked excited and childishly clapped. Another fact that can be added to our website. After taking some notes, she said, there are rumors fresh from the gossip mill that you, Trunks Brees, refer to yourself as, and I quote, the big bad sexy beast. Are these rumors true or are they simply precarious gossip? Oh, I used a big word. Mom, Dad, I told you I'd amount to something. Trunks couldn't help but roll his eyes, he knew thousands of more big words than she did. But she did have a point, her parents should be proud of her, not because of her supposedly sophisticated vocabulary, but because she was giving her body to the big bad sexy beast. Yes, that's true. Now enough with the grilling, let's get back to business. The girl pouted. But the website is business. Trunks groaned. No. I meant a distinct shrill screech resonated throughout Capsule Corporation. At the sound of the screech, Trunks quickly jumped out of his bed, once again naked, and hurriedly ran out of the room. Trunks. The girl yelled after him. When he didn't stop, she began to run after the naked Saiyan. She needed him for the first ever Trunks X tape. The fangirl craze would reach an all-time high if they witnessed their favorite sex star rock the house with one of the most influential fangirls of the Rabbit Club. Not now, slut. I have more important business to attend to. The fangirl was oblivious to the insult and kept running after her sex icon. She ran down the stairs and saw Trunks nervously looking at a plasma screen with a young boy and girl being displayed. Trunks, what about me? Shut up. What's more important, TV or your die-hard fans? Leave this house or I'll personally tell the fangirls of Trunks Club to drop you. The girl's eyes widened with horror. She quickly ran out the building, amusingly to Trunks, without her clothes. I have great fangirls, don't I? The words "it's over" broke Trunks out of his thoughts. What? No, it can't be. I can't watch this anymore. I am a failure of a teacher of the romantic arts. Unfortunately, for Trunks, he didn't hear the last part. Tears would be spilled that night in Capsule Corporation. Big bad sexy beast tears. Back in the normal timeline. With about 20 minutes left of lunch, Gohin decided to search for his Gryffindor friend's Kai signatures. He figured he'd probably have a lot of explaining to do and might as well get it out of the way now. Once he sensed them, he made his way towards the overcast courtyard. He saw Hermione, her face buried in Lockhart's book Voyages with Vampires. Harry and Ron were chatting away. When Gohin was just a few feet away from the trio, they whirled their face toward him. Harry and Hermione looked at him inquisitively while Ron gave him a snarl. Get out of here, you Slytherin twat. Ron yelled. Ron, don't be so rude. Just because he's in Slytherin, it doesn't mean you can jump to conclusions, Hermione scolded. Harry nodded in agreement. Look Ron, I'm not a bad guy. I'm pretty nice actually. I'm not some evil git and you should know that from the train ride, Gohin said, trying to restore trust in the stubborn wizard. Ron growled, shut his eyes, and crossed his arms firmly, clearly unbelieving. Ron, give Gohin a second chance. He's already reassured us that he's exactly who he was on the train ride. What more can he do? Harry said. Everyone sighed when Ron's coldness withered. I'll give him a second chance, but it doesn't mean I have to trust him, his voice grated. He whipped his body toward Gohin. And if you step 1 foot out of line, you're out, Ron threatened, glaring holes into Gohan's eyes, trying to judge whether Gohan's heart was pure or tainted. Gohan playfully smiled, urgently stood straight up, and gave him the reaction of a typical military soldier. "Sir, yes sir," Gohan said, breaking the air of tension. Harry and Hermione laughed at the startled look on Ron's face. A smile and some chuckles soon followed from Ron. A small mousy-haired boy with a camera dangling around his neck soon after walked up the floor. I'm Colin Creevy," and he fell silent, the blood rushing up to his face as he stood transfixed, mulling over what he to say to the famous Harry Potter. He shifted uneasily but cleared his throat and continued when he noted the encouraging looks given by his audience. "I'm in Gryffindor just like you, Harry, and I would like to know if you would mind I can take a picture of you." One of Harry's fans, Gohan thought. "You want a picture?" Harry repeated. "So I can prove I've met you, Harry Potter, the boy who lived." The boy raised his camera eagerly at Harry. "A boy in my dormitory told me he could develop the photos and make the pictures move," the boy said airlessly, clearly amazed by capabilities of magic. "I would like to show it to my Muggle father. He couldn't believe it when I told him that I was going to Hogwarts, so I'm taking pictures to show him. Maybe one of your friends can take a picture of the two of us. Then, could you sign it?" "Autographs? Potter, you're giving out autographs?" Malfoy's voice was loud and scornful, echoing throughout the courtyard. He and his cronies had been standing behind the five. "Line up for this once-in-a-lifetime event, everyone," Malfoy yelled at a crowd of students. "Shut your big mouth, Malfoy, for once in your life," Harry yelled. Gohan smirked at Malfoy. "It seems like I did a good job last night setting your hair on fire." Gohan pointed at the one gray frizzled side just above his left ear of Malfoy's otherwise sleek blonde hair. Malfoy scowled. "Maybe this time I should try to aim a bit higher both figuratively and literally." Malfoy sneered. "Ha. You simply lost control that time. Apparently, you're not exactly any good at magic. It was just an accident." Gohan rolled his eyes and gave him a derisive sneer. "Accident? You actually believed that bull? Well, I have to hand it to you, Malfoy, I've never met someone with such a small brain and a big head." Harry, Hermione, and Ron burst out laughing, while Malfoy turned a livid red. His cronies began cracking their knuckles, anticipating a brawl. "What's a Slytherin doing with a bunch of Gryffindors anyway?" Malfoy asked. Trying to switch the topic. "I'll just take that as you agreeing with what I just said." Malfoy was boiling now. "With that out of the way, I guess I can answer your question. It's simple, really. They are my friends regardless of their house placement because houses should not divide us. The guiding principle for the existence of houses is that we are placed in a house to meet people similar to us in fundamental ways, in hopes that we can better hone and develop our attributes with the placidity of less turbulent companionships and effective cooperation, unsullied by irresolvable bickering resulting from fundamental differences in belief systems. Unfortunately, by having such clean-cut divisions of the students in this school, we risk that these neat cookie-cutter categories begin to be recognized by students as applicable to every student, regardless of their individual deviations from the supposed norm of the house. We place every person in 4 rigid boxes, and we don't give them space to move about and truly be themselves. This is compounded by the lack of communication between the houses as a result of the school-imposed segregation in the form of stringent curfews, which make it difficult for us to have much time to be anywhere but our own respective common rooms. Also, learning to cooperate with people who are fundamentally different from yourself is an important skill in the real world. Houses don't matter out there. In fact, you will learn that you'll likely learn more by cooperating with someone who disagrees with you or thinks entirely differently than you do than with someone who agrees with you. It's clear now the problem with intolerance of other houses. This can lead to precarious assumptions and even scornful bigotry, making it a place ripe for flagrant belligerence, sundering ties of acquaintance and friendship with a simple shout of a hat. So what if they're different from us? It doesn't mean we can't be friends is the way we should think. What are we without diversity? Nothing but boring molds of clay filling up the world with the same old ideas and ways of thinking, destroying that which is the beauty of humanity, endless creativity. Diversity is not anathema to us. Malfoy ceased not his infuriated expression, but the Saiyan's friends nodded in agreement, proud of their friend. "Beautifully said, Gohan. I couldn't have said it better myself," Hermione proudly exclaimed. "Did you follow him?" Ron murmured to Harry. "No mate, I didn't. I got lost after they are my friends." Malfoy was about to say something, but he was interrupted. "What's all this about giving out autographs, Harry?" Gilderoy Lockhart said while striding toward them. "Oh great, Gildmedic Lockhart," Gohan thought. "Don't you remember our talk, Harry?" Lockhart lectured. Harry turned a shade of red and grumbled out a yes. "I shouldn't be doing this, but what the heck, just this one time." "Come on then, Mr. Creevy," Lockhart encouraged and beamed his toothy smile at Colin. "And we'll both sign it." Malfoy sneered at Harry, his lips tight with pleasure. Colin's hands fumbled with the camera, extremely excited at the prospect of snapping a picture of two famous wizards. He regained his composure and took the picture just as the bell rang, signaling the end of lunch. "Off you go, move along students," Lockhart said and took Harry with him into the castle. Ron and Gohan looked at each other unbelievingly. "What a pompous prick," they both exclaimed in unison. Hermione scowled at their response. "He probably just has something important to tell Harry." Ron shook his head without assent. What he wants to do is lecture Harry about something Lockhart himself fabricated in that deluded mind of his. Hermione and Gohan looked at Ron, both curious. "Harry told me that Lockhart thought it was a mistake to have posed with him at Diagon Alley because according to him, it went straight to his young head." Gohan snorted aloud, yielding a disapproving look from Hermione. "What?" The Saiyan was drifting in and out of sleep during History of Magic. He couldn't believe how mind-numbing the class was. Professor Binns was dreadfully boring. The young Saiyan would prefer to fight for his life instead of sit through this class. At least that was exciting. "This will wake you up, Gohan," Andres murmured. The Spanish boy had been trying to make conversation with Gohan the entire time, but the Saiyan drifted in and out of consciousness throughout the class. "Look at a trick my parents taught me," Andres said slyly. Gohan looked toward the place he was pointing. A smile steadily grew on his face. Without even a whisper, Kennedy's luxurious robes lifted off of him and his pants were pulled down. "I see London, I see France, I see Kennedy's underpants. That never gets old." The look on Kennedy's face was priceless when he realized what happened. All the students awoke and were sent into an uproar of laughter. The old ghost didn't even seem to notice the commotion and continued with his boring monologue. That lifted Gohan's spirits. "Now that you're finally awake, you prat," Gohan gave him a playful pout. "Okay, I understand that it was really hard to stay awake. I'd like to tell you about the bird I met at lunch." "I'm sorry, Andres. I'm not really interested in birds," Gohan sardonically said. "You know what I mean, Gohan." Andres gave him a weak glare. "So who is she?" Gohan inquired, uninterested. He was busy thinking about how to retain his dignity while meeting Ginny's demands. His plans were no good so far. Andres frowned. "You could at least pretend you're interested, you dick. Maybe you'd be more interested if I told you she's a third year." "Malarkey. There's no way I'm going to apologize to her without a plan." "Nope, just a testament to my sexiness, even at such a young age." "You could call me a sex prodigy," Andres pompously said, his ego turgid. Gohan grinned at him. "Pretty good, Andres, but still not as good as my sexiness." Andres snorted. "You're single. You couldn't even last more than a day with a girlfriend." Gohan huffed. "I'll have her back. As much as I think you like Ginny, I'm not sure how you're going to go out and apologize to your despised enemy unless you're going to blackmail her or something." Gohan snapped, startling Andres. "That's it, Andres. What is this it you speaketh of? Will this it determine the fate of the entire universe? Start a war that will tear galaxies apart, destroy entire planets, and be the coup de grace? To the starry-eyed belief of the innate good in us all?" he sensationally asked. "How droll, Andres. Just say what's it and cut out the overdramatic crap." Gohan rolled his eyes. Andres mocked fake pain. "The candid critique. My heart can't take it anymore, curse you, Gohan son." "Great acting, Andres. If I could give you a little more critique, it's this. Your acting is a bit too, how can I put it? Ostentatious." "Yes, that's the word," he professionally remarked. "I applaud your professional attitude, Mr. Sun. You did not let your usual pugnacious attitude toward me affect you, rather, you gave me an eloquent critique filled with invaluable perspicacity." Gohan mock bowed. "That is what I do best, Mr. Perez, journalism. Unlike all the other journalists in this wretched world of journalism, I am without bias and take my work seriously." "That is very true, Mr. Sun. Now, Mr. Sun, what was this it you speak of?" Gohan gave him a professional grin. "Ah, this it is blackmail." Andres smirked. "I like my thinking, Mr. Sun. I like your thinking too, that's why I'm going to blackmail Ms. Satan with an embarrassing video I found of her on the internet," he wickedly said. "The internet? A video? I'll explain it to you some other time, but a video is basically a series of moving pictures." "Gotcha, what are the contents, Mr. Sun?" Andres questioned hungrily. Gohan shook his head. Andres pouted. "Why can't you tell me? That'd ruin the surprise. But I'll throw you a bone, she's not tough at all, she's actually a real crybaby. Compensating." "Shut up." A Hufflepuff next to them demanded. "Buzz off, twerp." Gohan hissed to the Hufflepuff, scaring the kid silent. "I'm not sure what's gotten into me. I've been acting different lately for some reason." "Ah, whatever. You sure shut him up. Bravo. Thanks. Anyway, as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, I'm going to blackmail Vidal." If she doesn't want me to share copies of the video, then she's going to have to agree to say sorry to me and afterward inform Ginny that I apologize to her, even though I'm not going to. I like your application of my thinking. And I like your thinking. We're great together, aren't we, Mr. Sun? Yes we are, Mr. Perez, yes we are. So how was your day, Ginny? It was a good first day, Gohan. You already know what happened during potions, and I think you can imagine what happened during History of Magic. Gohan chuckled. I sure can. Andres had to pull Kennedy's pants down to wake me up. Ginny gave him an amused smile. So it was Andres who did it. I heard all about it. Tell him I said thank you. Sure. A snide voice resonated throughout the room. Mr. Sun and Ms. Weasley, do not talk. This is detention, not happy hour. Gohan and Ginny looked at each other with the exact same disgusted look. Amused by each other's expression, they both snickered. Ginny then slowly moved her head to Gohan's ear. I'm looking forward to getting back together, Gohan, Ginny coyly whispered, tickling his ear. Gohan gave her a sly smile. So am I. Gohan patiently waited for an hour to pass. Once it had, he carefully rose from his bed, made it appear as if his figure was still in bed using some pillows, and discreetly sneaked out of his dormitory. Once he got out into the pitch-black halls, he used his blazing swiftness to avoid Filch and sneak out of the large school. The Saiyan floated up from the grass and then slowly flew into the mysterious depths of the Forbidden Forest. It was time to train. It was very early in the morning. Gohan was exploring the school for fun, discovering new things every few seconds. He wanted to learn everything about the school, and so he decided to do this quite often to familiarize himself with it. He noticed a small figure walking toward him. It seemed like a girl as she gradually strolled closer. Gohan's eyes flickered with contempt once she was close enough to recognize. Vidal Satan was walking toward him, timidly, the regret evident on her face surprising Gohan. She really does feel bad. A few seconds later, they were face to face, Vidal's eyes guarded. Vidal took a deep breath and gently began. I'd like to start over, Gohan. I thought it over, and I realized that I gave you a reason to be angry with me. I wasn't polite when I told you I was going to tell you to get the hell out of my table. Despite my rudeness, you were pleasant. You wanted to make conversation, but I remained silent, rudely ignoring you. She took another breath, raised her head to look at Gohan's coal-like eyes, and meekly continued her apology. I gave you a reason to get angry at me and say the things you said, and I would have done the same thing if that had happened to me. So I'd like to say I'm sorry, Gohan. Her eyes tore away from his unwavering eyes. Gosh, should I be doing this? She seemed so nice all of a sudden. Confusion lurked behind his callous eyes. Vengeance soon reared its ugly head and began an internal war inside the Saiyan. Something new was pulling him, calling him, telling him to exact retribution for all her previous slights and flagrant disrespect. A new side he had never truly known was within him. It told him that for him to maintain any semblance of self-respect, dignity, he could not give in to the vile girl before him. A few seconds passed. Gohan finally made a decision, but it was the wrong decision. He gave Vidal a dark grin, perplexing the guilty raven-haired girl. I accept your apology. I realize you want to start over, and hopefully you will feel the same way once I have told you this, Gohan calmly began. Vidal's soft features became alarmed. You are to tell Ginny Weasley that I have apologized to you. I won't apologize to you however, because I don't think you deserve it. Why do you want me to do that? She broke up with me because I got in a fight with you and wants me to apologize. Confusion was swapped with disgust. So you want me to lie to her so you can get her back? Of course. I already told you that you don't deserve an apology, Gohan icily replied, teetering on the edge of the cliff of composure. I'm not going to lie to her. If she thinks you have to apologize to me and you couldn't argue your way out of it, then apologize to me. Even if I acted rude, you should know that the virtuous man does not swap hate with hate, rather, he swaps hate with love. The hell with that. He yelled, malice booming. Something was very wrong with him and he knew it in the back of his mind, but he couldn't control himself. He didn't want to. Her angry gaze tightened, her lips quivered, and her blue eyes grew stormy. You are such an egotistical asshole. I'm not going to lie to her. She's better off not being with you, you big-headed asswhoop. Gohan compassed himself and threw her an eerie leer, sending shivers down Vidal's spine. Oh really? Well Vidal, I have an awfully embarrassing video of you at a martial arts tournament. Vidal's eyes widened, mixed with both shock and disgust. He showed her a few seconds of the video he magically managed to get working on a Capsule Corporation phone despite its Muggle origins, a triumphant smirk on his face. You bastard. I think you're smart enough to piece it together yourself, Vidal, he sneered. Vidal's face was now flushed with anger. Carry on. Do as I command, Ms. Satan, he coolly said, his smirk broadening as Vidal trembled. Vidal was boiling over with a deep loathing for the Saiyan before her, his smugness pushing her to the breaking point. Little Satan did not roll over for anyone without putting up a fight. Especially smug boys who thought they could make her. She couldn't believe that she had ever felt guilty about that dickhead. After the confrontation, she let her anger explode in the girls' bathroom, yelling obscenities in the air. Moaning Myrtle agitated her even more with her teasing. Soon Vidal began to insult Moaning Myrtle, making the ghost fly away to wallow in misery. Half an hour passed as she stomped through the halls, looking to complete her mission and still get her revenge. Vidal Satan would not lose. She didn't accept losing. Losing to a boy like Gohan was even worse for her. He reaffirmed her belief that all boys were jerks. So far, she had been unsuccessful in her quest to find Ginny Weasley. Vidal didn't know her personally, but Ginny was one of the first sorted and Vidal was good at remembering the first thing and last thing of anything. Arasa and Sharpener were probably worried about Vidal. She hadn't given them a heads up so they probably were conducting a professional investigation at this very moment. She scoffed at the thought. Why they were so protective of a very capable friend was beyond her. They would defend her even if they obviously had less of a chance of winning, but hey, that's what friends were for. She saw a head of long flaming red hair. That's her. She upped her pace, and the stomp disappeared, replaced by a calm stride. You're Ginny Weasley, right? Ginny looked up curiously at her and slowly nodded. Yes I am, and you're Vidal Satan. Ginny smiled at her, patiently waiting for what she thought would be Vidal recounting Gohan's apology. That's me. Gohan explained the situation and he told me that he was sorry. Ginny's eyes sparkled and her smile widened. She seems so happy, but this is what's best for her. He said sorry to me, but I was blackmailed. The git didn't say that I couldn't mention him blackmailing me. Ginny's face paled and her eyes grew watery with wretchedness as she took in Vidal's revelation. He blackmailed you, she whispered. He did, Vidal gently said. She cursed silently when Ginny's face grew even paler. I'm sorry that you have to go through this, but it's for your own good, you know. You don't want to be dating a git like him. You're far too good for him. She put her arm consolingly around Ginny, trying her best to soothe her. Gradually, Ginny's face regained her lost color and soon after a crimson-red sheet of fury replaced a pale sheet of shock. That bloody bastard. Ginny snapped. You're right Vidal, I shouldn't be dating a git like him. I'm going up to his face to tell him it's over for good. Thank you Vidal for letting me know. I owe you one. Vidal gave her a slight nod and a reassuring pat on the back. Gohan? Ginny? Oh no. Gohan gulped, his pale face turning paler at the sight of Ginny. The Saiyan had never seen Ginny's face redder before and it wasn't the good red either. The irate girl stomped her way through the crowd, out to get her ex-boyfriend. Why Kami? Why? What have I done? Unless Vidal squealed on me. Damn you Satan. I'm coming after you once I deal with Ginny and calm her down. You think you've won, don't you? Well I'll be getting the last laugh. Ginny won't believe you over me. The furious girl was livid, her eyes filled with disgust and contempt purging Gohan of his confidence. His mouth grew dry and his cheek twitched, he averted her eyes as his own felt heavy with discomfort. He knew he had made his first big mistake at Hogwarts and there was nothing he could do about it now. Andres gave his heartbroken friend a sympathetic look. Gohan sighed for seemingly the 100th time as he half-heartedly ate his food, the Saiyan barely eating, that in itself alarming. Rumors spread quickly and today was not an exception to this rule. Gohan had confirmed the rumors when Andres had confronted him about the matter. The Spanish boy knew not to press further unless he wanted to further upset his friend. Half an hour ago, Ginny tore through Gohan, rendering him speechless throughout her livid tirade. She had called him countless awful names. Every single irate word thrown at the Saiyan had made him more dejected, more depressed, and more ashamed. Guilt overflowed and his depression worsened when he realized that Ginny was right. People came up to Gohan, prodding him to speak up about the disaster. Andres defended his friend and told all of them to buzz off because Gohan clearly was not in a state to discuss the incident. Snickers and finger-pointing were relatively common throughout breakfast, and every one of them was met by a ruthless Spanish glare that quickly shut up the offender. Andres couldn't take Gohan's dejection anymore, so he spoke up, hoping he could comfort his friend at least a bit. Dude, I know you must feel like complete shit. Andres paused and looked at the somber expression on Gohan's face, he was seemingly listening, at least. And you should rightfully feel guilty for acting like an asshole. Hell, I feel guilty for coming up with the idea in the first place. I understand if you want to be by yourself for a few days, but don't take this too far. Don't act like this week after week. You have to let it go eventually, acknowledge your mistake, and apologize to Ginny. I don't want to see you like this, wallowing in misery over one mistake. You made a mistake, but don't hold yourself accountable for it too long. Mistakes come and go, and forgiveness lasts until the next one. Andres sighed in relief when Gohan's dark features softened. Still, the Saiyan kept his gaze on a distant window rather than Andres. Andres, do you think that what I did makes me no better than the rest of the Slytherins? I blackmailed Vidal and tried to trick Ginny. It seems exactly like what the stereotypical Slytherin would do. Hell no. Just from the few days I've known you, I can say with 100% certainty that you aren't a piece of shit. I know you're a great person, but like me sometimes your faults can make you make bad decisions. One mistake does not make you a bad person. Gohan nodded, trained his gaze on Andres, and gave his friend a weak smile. You're right, Andres. Thanks. I have to apologize to Ginny as soon as possible. She probably and rightfully won't accept my apology, but hopefully with time I can mend our ties. Andres gave his friend a reassuring nod and smile. They made some conversation about their upcoming Dada class. They weren't exactly excited about being in a room with a big-headed wizard and rabid fangirls. Don't you hate it that every time he gives his creepy smile, the girls act as if they're about to faint from joy? It's maddening. Gohan nodded. It's absurd. He might be a great wizard, but he's still an arrogant twat. Whispers all of a sudden filled the hall, much to the two's confusion. They turned around and saw another irate Weasley, Ron Weasley to be exact. Gohan tried to calm himself for the situation by humorously noting that Weasleys looked like ripe tomatoes when they were angry. I have a strange craving for French fries all of a sudden. Stupid magic laws don't let me conjure French fries. Andres shouldered his friend. You stepped in shit with your right foot, why oh why did you have to step in more shit with your left? Gohan shrugged. I was stupid for a few seconds, and the shits were right next to each other. At least you have some protection from this Weasley. His friends are tagging along, so maybe they'll be rational and make sure he doesn't do anything stupid. Gohan nodded when he saw that behind Ron were worried Harry and Hermione. As they approached, the Saiyan braced himself for an ear-wrenching diatribe. There stood a fuming Ron Weasley, slowly boiling over, about to burst. I warned you. Now you've blown your last chance and you've made yourself an enemy, you bloody git. Ron snarled. All eyes were locked on the scene. Gohan peripherally glanced to see whether Ginny was also looking. To his dismay, she wasn't even at the Gryffindor table. Ron continued dogging him. You acted exactly like the slimy Slytherin you are. You shouldn't have forced my sister in the first place to be your girlfriend. That was over the line for Gohan. Ron had been correct up until that point. Gohan's guilty eyes quickly grew cold. I did act like a slimy git, but I would not stoop so low as to force your sister to be my girlfriend, okay? I apologize for my deplorable actions, and I want to apologize to Ginny. I'll understand if you both don't accept my apology, but I will always cling to the hope that someday we can, if not be friends, be on at least good terms. Ron simply scowled. Stop trying to hide behind a nice demeanor. I know what's really behind your facade, son, and I'm going to make sure you pay for trying to trick us all. Eat slugs. Protego. A jet of green light was reflected back toward Ron, propelling him 5 to 6 feet. Ron. Are you alright? Hermione squealed. Harry and Hermione couldn't help but scowl angrily at Gohan, despite knowing he was just protecting himself. Ron opened his mouth to speak, but instead of words, he gave a resonant belch, and several slugs trickled out of his mouth onto the floor. The Slytherin table was spellbound with laughter at the embarrassing situation a Slytherin brought on a Gryffindor. Harry, we have to go take him to Madame Pomfrey. Hermione said, anxious. Harry curtly bobbed his head. That is not necessary, I will take him, Professor McGonagall's stern voice declared. Mr. Weasley, I'm ashamed you could not control your temper. 50 points from Gryffindor and a detention. But Professor Ron croaked out and subsequently vomited more slugs. No buts, Mr. Weasley. Now come on. I'll take you to Madame Pomfrey. Ron complied and left without a second glance. After Ron left, Hermione shifted her gaze onto Gohan. You, mister, are going to have a lot of explaining to do during lunch. Okay, I'll do it. With a satisfied nod, Hermione and Harry left. Things aren't exactly looking up, are they? No, Andres, things are spiraling down to hell. I'll have to build one damn good staircase to get out of there. First you should clean up the shits you stepped in. Yeah, start with the small things I guess. The first Dada class was a complete farce. Lockhart had really outdone himself in the arrogance department. Nearly the entire class time was spent on taking a stupid quiz about Lockhart's books that were, well, just about Lockhart. And Lockhart. He was of no substance whatsoever, so the quiz was meaningless, ridiculous, and plain bullshit. 3 pages of bullshit to be exact. Andres cupped his mouth. PSS, Gohan, can you give me the answers to this god-forsaken quiz? I know you're secretly in love with Lockhart and know all the answers. I'm not secretly in love with Lockhart, Gohan growled. You told everyone but your best buddy. No. I'm not in love, period. More like exclamation mark. Stop being a smartass. But I'm the one asking for answers, Andre said with mock pain. You're doing it again. Whatever do you speak of? I simply want answers. Well, you're not getting them because I've got a little problem with a thing called cheating. Ever heard of it? Andre smirked. Yeah, I've heard of it. And what do you think of it? It's pretty bad unless it's on a bullshit quiz like this. Gohan scowled. Cheating is wrong in any circumstance. Stop being a goody two-shoes, Gohan. Hey. You know I'm not a goody two-shoes. I know. I just want to get some answers. If it's so dumb, why do you care? Because it's a quiz. But didn't you tell me Fudge Lockhart I don't give a fudge about his class? No. Yes you did, Gohan accused. No, I didn't. I said fuck Lockhart, I don't give a fuck about his class. Gohan grimaced. Same thing, he said flatly. It's not the same thing. Your version was the goody two-shoes version. Gohan groaned. It's kind of weird that the only curse word you don't drop is the F-bomb, by the way. It's just bad. A few minutes passed. Oh, listen to this one, Gohan, Andres whispered. Who was my first girlfriend? I feel sorry for the girl that dated him. Don't be. It's pathetic she couldn't see through his bullshit facade because of that oh so dreamy smile of his. Andres feigned love towards Lockhart. Honestly, if I had a say in his personal life, I would not allow him to breed. Imagine a mini-me Lockhart. Gohan shuddered at the thought. A few minutes of silence passed. Looky here, Gohan. Question 34. When anyone meets me, what's the first thing they think? A look of thoughtfulness crossed Gohan's expression. That question is interesting because it made me realize that Lockhart is the type of person that when you first meet, you immediately don't like. But when you get to know him, you end up hating him. So true. Excuse me boys, but please be quiet. I know you both want to know the answers to my wonderful life, but you can't go around cheating, Lockhart merrily said with his usual beaming smile. The boys feigned crying at the sight of it. My eyes, my beautiful eyes, Andres whimpered. Don't worry Andres, I'll save you from that monster. Monster? More like a pink teddy bear. A few moments later Gohan turned in his quiz, the first one to do so out of the entire class. Lockhart gave him a proud smile, delighted that a student knew him so well that he finished so quickly. Gohan did his best to return a smile, but it ended up being quite pathetic and insincere. Nonetheless to Lockhart it was filled with adulation. Gohan walked back to his seat, confident he got all the answers correct. He was so confident of this that he was disgusted that he knew all the squalid filth in Lockhart's books, hence why he had left Lockhart a little surprised toward the end of the quiz. When Gohan returned to his seat, Andres gave him a disapproving look. What? You're such a nerd, Gohan. Gohan scowled. 5 minutes later Andres finished and turned in the quiz. I can't wait till Lockhart sees mine, Andres whispered to Gohan. Gohan glanced at his friend inquisitively. You know the questions we discussed? Gohan nodded. Well, I put our flattering conclusions on there. Gohan snickered. After all the students had handed in the quizzes, Lockhart looked at them with disappointment strangely mixed with his usual jovial disposition. Even when it's obvious no one gave a damn about reading his books, he still can look happy. What the hell? After scanning a few papers, Lockhart stopped at one and his smile flipped upside down. Andres and Gohan snickered. Mr. Pears. Detention this evening. What did he do? Jacob, their doormate, asked Lockhart. Nothing that should concern you. Nonsense, Professor Lockhart. Don't be so modest. You will not tell anyone or I will send you to the headmaster for punishment. Andres innocently smiled at him. Don't worry, Professor. I'm good at keeping secrets. He said a little too enthusiastically. Yeah right, he said under his breath. Gohan tried his best to suppress his snickers. Lockhart brightly smiled again, clearly believing Andres. What a fool. Gohan sourly thought. Very well, Andres. I hope you've learned your lesson. Lockhart kept grading the rest of the quizzes while the class whispered to each other. Look at Vidal. She's glaring at me, what's new? But are you going to apologize? Gohan shrugged. I guess, and I'll burn the video in front of her face if I have to. She was actually nice to me for once and then I treated her like crap. I'm proud of you, not letting such hard feelings get in your way of proper judgment. My boy is finally growing up, Andres sardonically exclaimed, then proceeded to feign tears. Oh shut up you melodramatic wuss. Andres looked at him indignantly. I object. I'm not a wuss. I'm as macho as they get. Sure Gohan trailed off and rolled his eyes. I'm sure that's exactly what your girlfriend tells you. How do you know? Just a feeling. What house is your girlfriend in anyway? Ravenclaw? She's got brains, but what about beauty? Gohan humorously asked. The Spanish boy smugly smirked. She's got beauty alright. Have you heard of Cho Chang? Gohan gawked at his friend. Gohan's son is speechless. I will forever remember this momentous moment. I wish you were speechless sometimes. Hell, sometimes I wish you were mute for the entire day. Hey. Now, picking up where we left as if nothing ever happened, of course I've heard of her. She's the most popular third year in school. I've seen her too and she is quite the looker. Congratulations my suave Andres, I never would have imagined that you were this good. Andres sexily raised his eyebrows, then looked at his scrunched up hand nonchalantly, examining it for any possible imperfections. It was nothing, I just worked my magic and bam, she's my girl. Silence now, children. Lockhart gave the two a weak scolding look. Andres whispered, that's a weak sauce glare. But sprinkles on top. The boys snickered. Tut hardly any of you remembered that my favorite color is lilac. I say so in Year with the Yeti, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Rowling 100. But very good, Mr. Sun, it seems like you've got all the questions right. Lockhart's voice was full of praise. Too bad, Gohin said under his breath. More Spanish snickers. Yes, my favorite Muggle singer is Selend Ian. Now let's look at the last question. Yes, my birthday is 1955 March 2. Let me read the last part as you wrote it. Your ideal gift would be a new set of posh French curlers to fulfill your dreams of beautiful golden locks of girly hair, not that there's anything wrong with that mind you. That's exactly right Mr. Sun. An uproar of laughter filled the class, perplexing Lockhart. Here he read what Gohin wrote and blushed madly. For the first time ever, his smile was gone and in its place was a menacing scowl. Holy shit, Gohin. That's not a weak sauce scowl with sprinkles on top. Gohin's son. Detention and 50 points from Slytherin. Lockhart said, his forget-me-not blue eyes fixed firmly on the Saiyan. Gohin gave Lockhart a superfluous sulking frown. But I only got one question wrong. Insulting a teacher is not allowed. Does that mean I can't give you the curlers I was going to buy for your birthday? Another uproar of laughter filled the room. Lockhart attempted to calm the boisterous class, but it was to no avail. He was fraught with embarrassment and was glad that the bell rang almost immediately after the question. Good one, Gohin, good one. Andres clumsily said through his bubbling mirth. Thanks, it was worth the detention. But I have to get going, I need to apologize to Vidal. I'll see you for dinner, okay? Yeah, that's fine. Good luck, though. You'll need it. Thanks for being sunshine and lollipops. Andres gave him a sheepish grin. I'm right and you know it. Yeah, I know. See you soon Andres. Yup, see ya. Gohin departed and went jogging towards Vidal's Kai signature. Wait Vidal. Vidal tensed up at the sound of her enemy's voice and refrained from turning around. She sped up her stride alongside her friends. A few seconds later, she felt his hand clasped firmly on her shoulder. What do you want? She snarled and whipped around. Arasa glared at Gohin. Stop bothering Vidal, you jerk. Get weeb or I'll kick your ass. Gohin awkwardly chuckled. I just want to say I'm sorry. I did a terrible thing and I understand that you're angry. I'm not forgiving you, Vidal said, her tone flat. And I understand that. All I wanted to do was apologize to you and inform you that I'll give you my phone with a video on it. No other Muggle technology will work here, so I wouldn't be able to show anyone the video without my phone even if I wanted to. Vidal eyed him suspiciously, but then shrugged and held out her hand. Gohin gave her the phone and immediately the trio left without a word. Vidal snuck a glance back. To be honest, she was over the video. Really she was just disgusted Sun would stoop so low. And something good came about it. She now had a piece of Muggle technology that magically worked in Hogwarts and would be a major clue on her budding quest to figure out his secrets. Gohin sighed. He partly regretted handing over the phone. Maybe it was stupid, rash. She was smart enough to put two and two together. But he felt immense guilt, shame, and even if there had been an alternative, it felt right, at least as a first step to making amends. Why did I have to act like such a dick? The young Saiyan had found an empty classroom after dinner. He sat at a creaky desk and then pulled out his magic Veggie ball. Vegeta. Gohin yelled at his MVP. He waited patiently, but over a minute elapsed and nothing happened. Vegeta, he yelled louder. Nothing. Damn it. Out of nowhere, he heard a roar. Stop your damn laughing, woman. Get this pink dress off of me in effect from the hellball for not consoling the brat. What? No one makes me stop my training. What the hell? Gohin fell out of the desk and started laughing madly. A pink dress. Oh Kami, I'll never let him forget this. For once, thank you Dand. Gohin tried to compose himself when he heard a snarl and realized that Vegeta was huffily standing in the black background of the ball. What do you want, brat? And why are you laughing? The image of Vegeta, slick with sweat, growled as Gohin smirked at him. Oh, Veggie head, what's this about you in a pink dress? The vein popped out on Vegeta's head and pulsated with anger. Nothing. You must have become crazier than I thought you would become with all those whack jobs around, he scathingly replied. Please, Vegeta, I heard you from my magic Veggie ball. Isn't this thing great? Frankly, I think it's a nice change from those awfully dull spandex you walk around in all the time. I'm sure the dress accentuates your slim curves and ample bottom quite well. Vegeta was incredibly close to blasting the MVB to hell, but he controlled himself, an arduous task for the Saiyan Prince. The Prince of Saiyans simply huffed and firmly crossed his arms. What do you want, brat? I don't have time for your foolishness. I have to return to my training as soon as possible. Gohan's smirk evaporated. Truthfully, I don't know where to go to, Vegeta, and I've argued with myself over this for quite a while. I'm not sure whether I should follow Mirai's advice on this matter or… Vegeta glared at him, irritated by his lack of straightforwardness. Hurry up, brat. Geez, Veggie head, are you sure you're not missing? You're a little bitchy today. Vegeta's hair turned blonde and eyes teal. Shut up you damn brat and tell me what the hell you want. Gohan pouted. Fine then, Vegeta. You ruin all the fun. Vegeta scoffed and went back to his base form. I make all the fun. Sure Veggie head, keep telling yourself that. Okay, so I wanted to ask you about a girl that I really like. Vegeta arrogantly smirked. Girl trouble. Oh, you've definitely come to the right place. Not just possibly the right place, but our situations are kind of similar. Bulma thought you were an evil bastard when we came back to Earth after Frieza, right? Yes, she was afraid to even live in the same house as me. Vegeta cackled. Good times, good times. I never had more power to strike fear in her than I did then. Reminiscing Veggie head now that you're her monkey bitch. Boom. Alright. Super angry Saiyan transformation, he'll say something like if you screw with me again, I'll blow some shit up and teach your half-breed ass a lesson in respect blah blah blah. If you screw with me again, I'll blow this fucking ball, go over to your damn shoe, and teach your half-breed ass a lesson in respect. Gohan yawned, further enraging the Saiyan. Honestly Vegeta, you're becoming predictable. It gets kinda boring, you know. Vegeta calmed down a bit. He knew if he continued with his diatribe, he would be playing right into the cunning half-Saiyan's hands. Now that we are back to our previous civil conduct, Vegeta scoffed again. I'll tell you about my problem. If I simplify it, it's like this. I tricked a girl and she got pissed off at me and doesn't want to be with me anymore because she thinks I'm an asshole. So, what do you recommend I do? I say don't waste your time with a girl. If she gets pissed off over a stupid trick, who knows what it'll be like living with her. It wasn't just a trick. It was worse. Vegeta raised an eyebrow at him. So the Saiyan in you has finally emerged. Not that bad. Let's just say she has a right to feel how she's feeling. This is similar to your previous situation with Bulma, correct? Vegeta nodded. Then what did you do to get Bulma? A dark grin crept up on Vegeta's hard face. Gohan gulped nervously. I knew this was a bad idea. I got the woman in my bed, that's what. In the beginning, she tried to slap, bite me, smack me, whatever she could to get out of my grasp. But a few minutes in, extraordinarily aroused, soaking wet from my absolute dominance, she ravished me with sex. Are you planning to employ my method, boy? Vegeta eerily smirked at him. Oh Kami, why did I have to ask you Vegeta? Even Trunks' advice is better than yours. Vegeta snorted. Nonsense. The only action he gets is from slutty fangirls. Gohan chuckled. I know. I met them one time and it was Gohan shuddered. God awful. I never thought there could be anyone stupider than your father, but I was proven wrong when I met them. Gohan glared at Vegeta. Screw you, Vegeta. Remind me to kick your ass the first time I see you when I come back for the holidays. Vegeta cackled and repeatedly nodded. What a ludicrous statement. Sure, whatever brat. So I've gained nothing, except bonding time with my favorite person in the whole world. Bye Vegeta. Thanks for nothing. Vegeta sneered. It's your fault brat for not following my advice. Autumn took hold as summer lost its grip. Hot and humid days became chilly and dry. The days winded down sooner and the dark nights lengthened accordingly. To Gohan, the occasional wind was like a dirge, a constant reminder of his mistakes. His cheerfulness was flaccid, lacking the color and complexity of genuine happiness. His Spanish friend was never convinced that Gohan had gotten over Ginny. Andres, however, did not make any attempts to help his friend overcome his gloom. A storm no matter how strong died out eventually was his rationale. Who was he to possibly spur the storm? What else could he do to help that he hadn't already done? Why risk it when there was a definite conclusion? But Andres didn't know exactly what Gohan felt. Gohan still felt guilt of course, still missed Ginny, but he was also worried. Gohan, unlike Andres, noticed Ginny's strange aloofness. Ginny had rarely been going to the suppers. Many times, her Kai signature would disappear without a trace, completely baffling Gohan. Her usual bright color had been replaced by an unhealthy pallor. A few weeks ago Gohan had asked himself if it was his fault. Was she not going to dinner because of him? His suspicions were shot down when he realized that she wasn't avoiding him. A few days after their breakup, she had tried her best to avoid the Saiyan, completely ignoring him whenever he tried to talk to her. That attitude took a U-turn 2 weeks later. He now oftentimes sat with her during breakfast, the one meal she usually showed up to, whenever Andres wasn't around, and she would not object. She would murmur a few words of conversation but nothing more. No spiteful feelings were now ever present. Her once warm eyes were now callous. All it seemed she felt for Gohin now was apathy. Gohin knew there was something terribly wrong. As much as he thought, he couldn't figure it out. He stopped his sparring with his mirror image. Looking deep into her eyes felt like being engulfed by darkness, a foreign darkness, not belonging in a young girl's eyes. Gohin sighed as he thought over the situation again and walked through the forbidden forest deep in thought. Vidal's crew still assailed him with vehement glares whenever he was near them. Barry and Hermione were cautiously accepting of him, even after the Ron incident. The conversation with the two during lunch that day went well. Hermione scathingly scolded him, but didn't hold hard feelings when Gohin told her exactly how he felt about what he did to Ginny. "I was a stupid, arrogant, vengeful jerk, and I wish that I had never done that because I really like Ginny." Barry and Gohin would share the occasional laugh whenever Ron wasn't around. Ron hadn't said a word to him since the incident. After several minutes, he snapped out of his thoughts when he felt an unfamiliar chi. It didn't alarm him, however, since the person had a low chi, even for most humans. Still, he was worried for the person. Surely, he or she would realize it wasn't safe to be in the forest without company this late at night. He looked at his tattered guy skeptically, now mulling over what to do. He couldn't go out and help the person without the possibility of being questioned about his guy's condition, despite the fact that it didn't look that bad since he was wearing long sleeves tonight, his body well covered. He would have to do something. Glamour charm. Gohin expertly produced a glamour charm to make it appear as if he were wearing his robes. At his age, he really shouldn't have been capable of that, but he was something else. He was a prodigy so advanced that according to his teachers, no one had ever known of any wizard or witch so good at such a young age. Dumbledore had inquired how he could cast a Protego shield after the Ron incident. The Saiyan had nonchalantly shrugged and told him he learned it from the books he read. Dumbledore had stared at him wide-eyed and then had chuckled. The blunt way Gohin put it amused him to no end. Gohin walked toward the source of the chi. He was surprised to see a small girl, about the age of a first year, serenely lying down, her protuberant silver eyes gazing at the glowing stars without a care in the world. She had long, straggly, silver blonde hair and very pale skin. Gohin couldn't help but smile at the scene. The girl looked so peaceful and free. He continued walking toward her. When he arrived just a few feet away from her, she didn't seem to notice him, her gaze on the stars unwavering. Gohin spoke up. "Hi, I'm Gohin's son." The girl trained her dreamy eyes on him. "Hello Gohin's son. I'm Luna Lovegood. If you would like to stay, you can sit here," she said, her voice filled with an otherworldly dreaminess while patting on the soft grass, motioning for him to accompany her. He decided to take up her invitation, sitting down on the exact spot she had patted. Her name lingered in his mind for a few moments. He was sure he had heard the name before. He shook off the feeling and redirected his thoughts to the present situation. "It's nice to meet you, Luna, but I would like to ask why you're here alone. It can get very dangerous here this late at night." Her eyes remained dreamy, bewildering Gohin. He had never seen anyone appear so serene. "I could ask you the same thing and in addition ask why your clothes are torn." Gohin attempted to cover up his surprise, but was unsuccessful. "I have a sort of a second sight that allows me to see through certain charms." The shocked Saiyan looked at her frostily. "Don't probe any further than that and don't tell anyone about this." His icy face died down at the sight of the unaffected faraway expression of Luna Lovegood. That should have been good enough to even make Vegeta feel nervous, but here she is so detached, almost as if she didn't hear me. "Since you don't seem to have any better reason to be out here, I guess that means you can't justify why I shouldn't be here," she said conversationally, paying no heed to his icy demands. Gohin wasn't sure if she was digressing from the topic of his torn clothes purposely or unconsciously. That still didn't ease the anxiety he felt about the possibility that she would grow suspicious of him. He couldn't allow any more slip-ups around this odd girl. "Yes, I do." Gohin trailed off, not sure what to say. Telling her about his inhuman martial arts prowess was not the answer. "Oh dear, it seems like the Raxperts invaded your brain," Luna conversationally said. Gohin stared at her, perplexed. "Raxperts invading my brain?" "They're invisible things that float through the air and go inside the victim's ears, making their brain fuzzy." Gohin looked at the dreamy girl incredulously. "That's not possible. I've never heard of them and I've read books about magical creatures and they've never been mentioned." "It seems like you haven't read the Quibbler." "The Quibbler? It also seems like you love reflecting what I've said. The Raxperts must have disabled you more than I had initially thought." She giggled a little at his derisive scowl. "I'll explain. The Quibbler is a magazine that my dad produces. He writes about a variety of magical creatures that aren't officially recognized as existing, but my dad and I know they do. People are simply too narrow-minded to believe so and scorn us for having faith in that which has not been disproven. Her voice was serene, lacking any edge to it. Gohan couldn't get over her fascinating calmness. She was something else. I guess I can't tell you that they don't exist when there's no evidence to prove they don't, he happily exclaimed, a warm smile on his face, despite him knowing about who the burden of proof rested on. He liked this girl. He was going to support her, despite the logical fallacy she was committing. Anyway, she was entitled to believe what she wanted to believe, without having to deal with someone else's condescension or scorn. Luna beamed at him, her face very cheerful. She had never had another kid accept her belief so easily. So, do you have any tips on getting rid of Raxperts? Her smile grew brighter and she nodded. Yes. I've read that to get rid of them someone has to blow in the other person's ear and they will leave, repelled by the turbulence. Gohan grinned at her. Really? Well, get on with the blowing, Luna. I don't want my brain fuzzy anymore. Very well. She scooted closer toward him and lightly grasped his shoulder to better position herself. She blew into his ear, attempting to rid his brain of Raxperts. Her warm breath tickled Gohan's ear like the tips of flowers on his skin, and he couldn't shake off the feeling that he was really enjoying himself. There. It seems like they're all gone. Feeling better? It was Gohan's turn to dreamily stare at her. Much better. She looked at him with bemused confusion. You really should cut that out, people might think you're a little odd. Gohan couldn't help but laugh at the irony of the comment. His brusque laugh startled Luna, her dreaminess dissipating slightly, but she then dreamily smiled at him again. So now that I have driven out the Raxperts, can you coherently state why you are more capable than I am at staying safe here? He would have to go with his famous, already known throughout the school, prodigal magical abilities. I am very well capable of defending myself with my magical abilities. A different dreamy smile crossed Luna's features. Gohan couldn't discern whether it was a mocking or friendly smile. Ah yes, your amazing magical talent. The talent so astounding, not one child in our age group has possessed such talent throughout all the history of magic. I've heard the professors speak of you with both praise and concern. Very well. It seems you are more than capable of protecting yourself. Nevertheless, it does not matter too much here. I've been out by the lake since the beginning of the school year and nothing bad has ever happened. Admittedly, the occasional turbulence and strange flashes of flight are quite startling, but don't worry about me. I'll be fine. Gohan tensed up at that. So she had in some way observed the things he did. Of course, he knew she hadn't seen him, but he also knew that if he slipped up anymore, she could easily derive a conclusion. Thankfully, the thoughts racing through his head did not translate to his appearance. He reluctantly agreed with her. Fine, you can keep up your evening routine, but I'm keeping you company tonight, he firmly said. She vaguely nodded, almost as if she wasn't actually listening to him. Out of nowhere, he recalled where he heard her name. Ginny had told him after their breakup that she was going to talk to her friend Luna. Could this be the same Luna? Excitement welled up in him at the possibility of learning what was wrong with Ginny, like a first breath of unsullied air. By the way, do you happen to know a Ginny Weasley? She tilted her head and looked at him, as if struggling to recall the name. Yes, I do. She is a friend of mine. I met her when I was a little girl. Why? Oh, wait, she spoke of you before. You were her boyfriend, correct? If it hadn't been Luna Lovegood asking that question, he would be nervously balancing on the thin wire of conversational civility with an ex-girlfriend's friend. Luna Lovegood was different, however. There was no trace of vindictiveness in her tone. She spoke mellifluously, her soothing voice reassuring him. There was no thin wire, no balancing act when one spoke with Luna Lovegood. She was a wide sea of fresh acceptance. Yes, I was. Unfortunately, I made one of the biggest mistakes of my life, and she accordingly let me go, he almost nonchalantly said. He was surprised by how easy it was to say that. Luna seemed to radiate hope of something better, something he didn't entirely comprehend. She was the flicker of light in the darkness he had thought to be unending. I am glad to see that you have acknowledged your mistake, but unfortunately the damage has been done. I realize that, but what I would like to know, you being her friend and all, I assume that you know something why Ginny is so withdrawn and different. She's lost that cheerfulness about her that made her unique. She's lost her stubbornness, her fire. Now she's a distant, cold, apathetic mess. She's completely unrecognizable. And I know that it's not me who's changed her. Despite the seriousness of the Saiyan's question, Luna's eyes still had a faraway, dazed look about them, as if she were on some other level of consciousness, and she had no worries. Unfortunately, I hardly know more than you do about the situation. I have caught her spending most of her time with a diary. Even when she's walking she carries it. I once asked her when she bought it and she uncharacteristically snarled at me. She was delusional, believing that I wanted to steal the diary away from her. But what could that have to do with her drastic change? Gohan looked downbeat by the lack of answers from Luna. No answers but more questions, he sullenly noted. Luna noticed his sadness and spoke up. I am also trying to understand what's happening with Ginny, Gohan. If you need any help, I'll gladly be there for you and help you however I can. The Saiyan gave her a small smile. Thanks Luna. That means a lot to me. She stared at him for a long period of time, seemingly deep in thought, discomforting Gohan at the awkward silence and her continuous staring. Why does she have to look at me like that? It's so uncomfortable. Luna gave him a smile. You are different from most people. You're more accepting and a little dotty. Gohan grinned. I'm dotty. Now what does that make you? People call me loony, she bluntly said, startling Gohan with her candid comment. Soon, anger filled him. Why do they do that? He asked, his voice harsh. She shrugged. Because of my different beliefs, but honestly I don't really mind. They still shouldn't call you names. Don't worry, Gohan. It's nothing to concern you. His anger subsided and he gazed caringly at Luna. He wasn't sure what, but something about this girl made him very protective of her. In half an hour, he had formed an inexplicable bond with Luna. Yes, Luna, it does concern me. It greatly bothers me that people go around unjustly teasing someone else because they are different. It defies everything I stand for and I will not allow it to continue. If I ever hear anyone call you loony, I'll make sure they cut it out permanently. Luna's eyes widened, utterly shocked, a reaction Gohan felt was quite challenging to get out of the blonde girl. You want to help me out? Absolutely. And you want to stop the other kids from teasing me? She airlessly questioned, unbelieving that someone actually wanted to help her out to such an extent. It seems like you're doing the reflecting now, Ms. Lovegood. Raxpert's making your brain fuzzy. Luna giggled. Maybe. How about you help me get rid of them, Gohan? Secrets Halloween. A bright wave of energy shot through the sky toward the half Saiyan, roaring its way at him. He narrowly avoided it by milliseconds. Gohan's mirror image took advantage of Gohan's moment of rest. A cry of pain filled the air, the mirror image having struck Gohan hard in the back with an overhand blow. His mirror image's strong arms then locked around Gohan's neck, choking Gohan, his grip unwaveringly strong. Gohan struggled for air. His mind raced as he attempted to come up with a spell to escape from the perilous situation. Any other day he would have muscled his way out of the grip, but tonight was a special night. A night reserved to warding his mirror image off with purely magic, speed, and strategy. What's the point? Vegeta had asked him once when they conversed, surprisingly civilly, with the MVP. Gohan explained he wanted to become a famous duelist in the magical world. Just as predicted, Vegeta snorted at the half Saiyan's aspirations. When his education at Hogwarts was finished, Gohan did not want to withdraw from the magical world. He wanted to embrace it. He wanted to throw away his mom's dreams of a scholar and the family. He didn't want to be a scholar, he wanted to be a magical duelist. Something far more exciting than a scholar. Of course, he would limit the use of his inhumane speed and strength in such duels in order to level the grounds as much as possible. It wouldn't be difficult to adjust to precisely the opponent's physical level when he gained enough control over his powers. Over the last couple of weeks, Gohan had learned from observation that Kai and magical energy were linked. One could influence the other. He suspected that eventually, it could be possible to send magic in Kai and magic. There were countless possibilities if this were the case. What advancements and discoveries could he make in such a new field? However, Gohan did not yet have a firm grasp on using his Kai to influence his magical energy or vice versa. Although Gohan noticed that his spells were significantly more powerful than his peers, his spells definitely weren't as strong as the professor's, at least not yet. If he were to continue advancing at the rate he was, he would surpass his professors in his 4th year. Dumbledore. Perhaps 7th year, but that was a lower bound, based on what he believed was the minimum of Dumbledore's power. Anapneo, Gohan whispered. His airway cleared, his throat strengthened, he had managed to modify the spell in such a way as to be useful in situations when one was being strangled, not simply choking on another object, and he smirked when his mirror image released him. Of course, his mirror image was as smart as he was, so the mirror image knew it would be futile to try to choke Gohan. Suddenly, Gohan apparated right behind his mirror image and wordlessly sent a Confundo charm toward his mirror image. Had he not been right behind his mirror image before he sent his Confundo charm, the mirror image would have dodged it, even despite this charm casting no light and making no sound. His spells were nowhere near as fast as his Kai blasts, unfortunately. Even an agile human could dodge them. That was something he'd have to fix if he ever hoped to use magic against the types of villains he was used to fighting. Gohan sent a strong banishing charm, hurtling towards his confused mirror image, the image unable to sense the spell rushing toward him, since neither one of them were capable of sensing magic. Finally, the banishing charm was strong enough to send his mirror image flying through the dark night. The charm itself wasn't particularly strong, but he realized over the nights that despite spells affecting him a good amount less than humans, they still had an effect, and so he would have to defend himself against someone trying to hurt him with magic, especially against a master of magic, although admittedly, he'd dodge their spells because he was ridiculously fast. They'd have to sneak up on him somehow. He wasn't some magical god capable of overwhelmingly powerful spells and immune to other spells, despite his godly Kai and marital arts ability, and Gohan liked that. It gave him a challenge to conquer. Do I really have to hang out more with you and your friends? Yes, Andres, you have to. The Spanish boy groaned. But why, Cho? It would be best if the relationship extended further than just between us. Your friends should get to know my friends. It would solidify our bond. Andres rolled his eyes. Bond? I'm in for the goodies, not for this bond she speaks of. Okay, sure, whatever you say. Joe fixed a stern gaze on the Spanish boy. I saw that eye roll. Andres gave her an ingratiating smile. Joe, I was just thinking about my best friend. I couldn't imagine him trying to be friends with your friends. The finagle worked. Too bad for him. It's mandatory. Hey, maybe I can hook him up with one of my friends. Andres smirked at that. He knew the Saiyan would not warm up to any of Joe's friends, especially in that way, and especially just a month after his incident with Ginny. Let's get this started today. Go get him and bring him to the courtyard. We'll be there. Okay, sure, see you soon, Cho. Bye, Andres. As soon as Joe left, Andres let out some laughs. This is going to very interesting. Once Andres found Gohan, he began to explain the situation. Well, first he grabbed his arm forcefully, trying to bring him along. You're coming with me. Hey. What are you doing, Spanish boy? Gohan ripped the hand away. Come on, Japanese boy. Why do you always need to know the facts? Gohan sent him a gold glare. Because who knows what the hell you're leading me into. For all I know, you could be trying to hook me up with some girl like all those other times. Andres innocently whistled. Whatever are you speaking of? Gohan had caught on to his friend's efforts to hook him up with a girl. The first 2 times, Andres had actually thought it would work. After that, he just did it for fun on annoy Gohan days. Even though your memory is terrible, I know that you know what I'm speaking of. Hey. My memory isn't shit. Gohan rolled up his sleeve, pretending to examine a watch. Tick-tock, whatever it is you want to do, know that there's 10 minutes left before classes resume. Shit. Okay, I'll be straightforward about this. Cho wants me to bring you along with me to talk with her friends to, in her words, solidify our bond. An amused expression grew on Gohan's face. Bond? What bullshit. Bond with Andres. PFFFF, you just want the goodies. Yeah, I know, but don't tell her that. Of course not. That would ruin our plans for 4th year. Both their eyes glazed over and they dreamily sighed in unison. 4th year, they snapped back to reality. So what's your decision? Hell no. Andres stared at his friend pleadingly, fixing his hands in a begging position. Come on, Gohan. Please. Gohan shook his head firmly, clearly unwilling to be dragged into Cho Chang's group. Who knows, it might be fun. Gohan scoffed. Fun. Talking to a bunch of stuck-up girls. They're Ravenclaws, but everyone knows that Cho's friends are the 3rd-year queens of gossip. Andres let out an enervated sigh. When will Mr. Know-It-All here realize that just because gossip can be insubstantial, it doesn't mean it's not fun? The day I start to fill my life with gossip. Which is? Never, Gohan flatly answered. Damn you, Gohan. Come on. Let's just go. Don't you think acquainting ourselves with people higher up on the social ladder will put us in a better position to fulfill our 4th-year dreams? The Saiyan looked pensive for several seconds. Gohan rubbed his chin, and unknowingly to him, Andres mockingly did the same. Gohan's probably like, oh look at me, I'm so much sexier than you when I think. What a load of bull. Gohan then returned his gaze to Andres and caught his friend mocking him. What the hell were you doing? Andres' eyes widened anxiously. Oh nothing, nothing. You don't want an angry Gohan. Asshole. What? Andres gave him an innocent look. You know what? Now I'll pretend that never happened. Thank you, God, Andres whispered under his breath. Gohan slightly frowned, peeved about what was necessary. I guess we'll gradually progress through the ladder of hell and it'll make things easier in the future. So, sure. That's the spirit. Now come on, 8 minutes left. Oh Kami, why must I undergo this torture? Gohan acerbically stared at the girls appearing ever closer. I hate you, Andres. It's only for 5 minutes, man. You need to learn how to understand the female language anyway. Gohan raised an eyebrow. The female language. Andres smacked his face, as if ashamed of his friend's lack of knowledge. I guess years out in complete isolation didn't exactly help you. Well, I'll put it this way. It takes years of practice to learn to decipher the female language. Sometimes, they might say one thing, but they mean another. Like, you ask them if they want to make out and they're like no, but they actually do want to. Gohin looked at him, dumbstruck. Why? Is it to trick the person and make fun of them like what we do? No Gohin, it isn't. Scientists don't know why either. They think it has to do with hormones or something like that. Hormones, chemicals released by cells that affect cells in other body parts, the Saiyan professionally stated. God help Gohin. Yeah sure, chemical magickers. Anyway, you'll have a better grasp on what they truly mean with more experience. The more you practice, the more you'll understand how to make them feel better, understand their emotions, and solve even more complex meanings. It may seem like an arduous task to figure this out, but in the end it's really cool to know what they actually mean, and it's worth it cause the babes will be all over you. So they're like calculus. Andres rolled his eyes. Yes Gohin. They're like calculus. What a nerd. Hi Andres. Joe greeted from the bench. She was sitting with her 3 other friends, all of them third years. Gohin half-heartedly observed that they looked pretty cute. Still, he hadn't recovered from his breakup with Ginny and he was in no mood for a girl. Wait, is this Gohin's son, the guy who made Ginny Weasley cry? Gohin's features darkened at this, guilt welling up once again. Shit, she's going to pissed off at me for this. Well, I guess bros before hoes will apply here. Yeah, but Andres began. Great. I've always hated the Weasleys. It must be pretty embarrassing having to wear hand-me-downs and second-hand clothes. Pretty funny, don't you think? Oh no, Gohin's not going to like that comment. Andres was right. Gohin didn't like that comment one bit. His face grew red, the comment leaving a vile taste in Gohin's mouth. There was no way in hell he would communicate with such a girl. Excuse me, but I must be going. I was supposed to be doing something else, far more important than this, but it happened to slip my mind. So bye. His tone was calm, controlled, but biting. Without another word, he left. There were no protests. The way he uttered the words had left the girl struck cold. Damn, he's good. There's only 3 minutes left so I guess it would be okay if I left too. I mean Gohin isn't here anymore, which defeats the purposes of this get-together. I don't want to be the only guy in a group of girls, you know. Joe gave Andres a weak smile, a bit shaken up. Sure, Andres. Some other time. With the farewells out of the way, the Spanish boy chased after his friend. There were problems needing to be resolved. Wait up, Gohin. Andres called after his friend striding down the hall, a caustic bite in every step he took. At Andres' calling, he robustly paused and mechanically turned around to face his friend. You want to talk about the comment your girlfriend made, Gohin said in such a way as to unnerve Andres. Damn, he's really good. Yeah, and I'd like to say. I won't try to be friendly with her, even if you want me to. Andres chuckled to Gohin's confusion. What's so funny? Andres looked amused. Dude, Gohin. Let's set things straight. What she said was really shallow, and I understand why you walked out on us. I won't force you to do anything against your own will. Here's our golden rule, Gohin. Bros before hoes, okay? Bros before hoes. Gohin smirked at the saying. Sure, bros before hoes. He couldn't help but chuckle after saying it. So do you have to date that girl? You know me, Gohin. It's not like I'm in love with her or anything. She can be so damn irritating at times and really needs some maturing, maybe some more difficulties in her life, in order to sort her out. And you're mature. Gohin derisively drawled. At least I'm more laid back and going with the flow, you know. Yeah I know, going with the flow. Gohin mocked, making waves with his arms. Andres ignored him. And of course, it's important that I date her. It's helping you and me get up the social ladder. And we really need it too if we want to look good to the non-Slytherins. The first years already look up to me like some sort of demigod because I'm dating Cho. Sure, I guess if it isn't a serious relationship. Andres laughed aloud. Serious? Don't mess with me man. That's not funny. Gohin couldn't help but laugh too. For the last time Trunks, no. Bulma yelled. She had been working for past few months on a very important experiment that could possibly help her discover the cures for several deadly diseases, but here was her son, bothering her with insistent requests to repair the broken time machine for him. All because he wanted to give romantic advice to Gohin. She couldn't restrain herself from laughing the first time Trunks told her why he wanted the time machine fixed. Trunks took great offense. She had always been proud of her son's looks, but unfortunately, that's all he needed to attract girls. They ignored his overly sappy sweet talk her dear Trunks barfed up, seeing through it all, in order to have his body and his face for themselves for a night or two. Trunks had once recited his sweet talk to her and asked her how good it was. She said it was okay, because she didn't have the will to hurt her son, but truthfully, it made her gag. She didn't want to tell him how corny it sounded, so she gave him advice that he shouldn't have to resort to lines with a girl. He should try to be himself. But the millions of chick flicks he watched had gone to his head and he would not listen to his mother, who had once been the most beautiful girl in West City. Bulma knew a thing or two about being a beautiful girl who played hard to get. Trunks would one day run into one, and boy would he be helpless when that day came. "Come on mom, make another time machine for me," Trunks whined to his mother. Bulma shot him a menacing glare, giving Trunks butterflies. "Big bad sexy beast butterflies. I am left with no other choice. I must selflessly sacrifice myself to help my friend. It must be done. I'll stop throwing my super secret fangirl parties," he coyly added with some regret. He really didn't want to end his parties, but his mom hated his super secret fangirl parties. Well, they weren't super secret anymore because she had found out about them when one of the parties ended up being raunchier than usual, leaving all the guests dead asleep and completely naked on the floor. No, they weren't super secret anymore. They were just secret. Now that was a good deal for Bulma. She hated his quote super secret fangirl parties, or what she called his blaringly obvious party for slutty fangirls. The rooms were disgusting after his parties. She really didn't want to go into the details. She swung her attention from the experiment to her son again. "Okay, Trunks. I'll do it. But you have to stop those fangirl parties." "Super secret fangirl parties," Trunks added. Bulma glowered at him and gritted her teeth. "Those super secret fangirl parties, and if you don't, I'll stop repairing the time machine," and a thoughtful look crossed Bulma's face. "You'll have to eat my cooking for a month." Trunks' face filled with fear. Bulma's cooking? Oh, the horror. He'd rather face an army of cells. The answer was clear to Trunks. "Okay, Mom. I got you. So, you think it'll be up in a week or two?" "Oh no, Trunks. I say December." Trunks' eyes widened, utterly distraught. "What? December? I can't wait that long. Gohan needs me. Honestly, I wonder why I made that ball in the first place. No good would come out of it in bad hands. I'm sure Gohan will be fine." "No, he won't. He needs the master of magnetic charm with him to make the right moves. He needs me." Bulma scoffed. "Master of magnetic charm, my sweet ass." October swept September away. The chill characteristic to this month was aroused that frigid night. It was too silent for Harry Potter. As he wandered through the forbidden forest, he hoped the silence would be broken, a desire he immediately retracted after considering the possible consequences. Wishing for the end of silence was not very wise. Simply having a worrying presage, after all, was better than it actually being realized. If it hadn't been for Snape, he wouldn't have been here. Snape had been his typical bigoted self during potions. A few mistakes on the potion Harry was brewing and an insult sent Snape's way after Snape demeaned him, and Harry was assigned detention with Hagrid. Hermione actually told Snape off, and consequently, she had to serve detention too. Gohan's son had also gotten detention from, guess who? Yup, Snivella Snape himself. Who would have guessed? As great of a guy as Hagrid was, he never seemed to understand the dangers of the forest. Or at least the dangers Harry felt were there. Hagrid said that there was nothing that was harmful in the forest, at least if not provoked. Yet, Harry couldn't help but think otherwise, and every second he spent in the forest made him feel more inclined to dismiss Hagrid's claim as foolhardy at best. Admittedly, it wouldn't have been so bad for Harry if he were with Hermione and Gohan. Too bad they had to search for 3 different things, and Snape had given Hagrid specific commands to separate the 3 during detention. So here he was stumbling through the eerie forest like a blind man without a stick. Good job, Potter. It was so smart leaving your wand on your trunk. Whatever dangers there were, he felt that whenever it presented itself, he'd be a goner, a very tasty goner. What was I looking for again? Oh, that's right, Alahatsi leaves, said to cause hysteria in the person who eats them. Why would Snape want that? Oh Potter, what a stupid question to ask. A better question is why Snape wouldn't want something like that. The answer, I dunno. Suddenly, his foot hit a rock, making him stumble forward onto the dirt. I guess my luck ran out, it was only a matter of time before I fell down with all this bloody darkness surrounding me. His hands gripped onto silky leaves. What's this? An invisible grin lined his face, the darkness obscuring it. Alahatsi leaves. Alright. Now I can get back to Hagrid's hut. The problem is, how do I get back? Sweet Merlin, this sucks. He stood up and headed straight back the way he thought he came from. Of course, he didn't know exactly where he was going, but it was nicer to think he actually knew where he was going, rather than acknowledge he was lost. Oh look, I think I've seen that tree before. Yup, it looks exactly like all the other trees. An indistinguishable shadow in this god-forsaken darkness. I must be going the right way. The pretension of optimism was enough to make even the most deluded optimist cringe. That was the only way to keep Harry's sanity, however. Perhaps an exaggeration, but the point has been made. Out of nowhere, a yellow flicker of flight and an explosion came from Harry's right, and then rushing footsteps. Barry's initial reaction was to run away as quickly as possible from the direction of the yellow light. Instead, he stood firmly planted into the dirt. Harry wasn't exactly sure what kept him there. Was it fear? No, it couldn't be fear. It was more of a gut feeling. A feeling that sent a message not of danger. If I have to fight for my life now, I will never listen to my gut again. Who's there? Barry, it's me. Hermione. Why were you running? Hermione closed the distance between them to an acceptable space. Up close, she looked anxious. I saw Gohan make a ball of energy come out of his hands and shoot it out at a troll. It made the troll run away, she whispered, clearly shaken. What? It must have been his wand. You can't make energy balls come out of your hands unless it's wandless magic. But even I know that you have to be incredibly advanced to do that. Exactly.